It's time for Twit, This Week in Tech. Great panel for you this week. Father Robert Balacer joins us from the Vatican, Wesley Faulkner from Wisconsin, and Carolina Milanese. Lots to talk about, including the mess at Blizzard, why China is really cracking down on consumer technology, and a great week for tech. We'll take a look at quarterly results from Apple, Google, Amazon, and more. It's all coming up next on Twit.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twit, This Week in Tech, episode 834, recorded Sunday, August 1st, 2021. Bimbo Squalo. This Week in Tech is brought to you by Crowdstrike. Crowdstrike harnesses the power of every click, every action, every ally to grow stronger and stop cyber threats before they can stop you. Join the fight and experience the power of Falcon Platform for free today at crowdstrike.com/twit. And by Wordtune. Wordtune is the first AI-powered online writing tool that understands meaning, so you can feel confident that what you're writing is as smart as you are every time. Get help writing your emails, reports, presentations, resumes, and blog. Try Wordtune today for free at wordtune.com/twit. And by Podium. Today's customers expect on-demand everything, even from local businesses. Stay ahead of the competition with Podium. They have free plans for growing businesses, plus all the power growing businesses need to scale. Get started free today at podium.com/twit. And by ExpressVPN. Stop letting strangers invade your online privacy. Protect yourself at expressvpn.com/twit. Get 3 extra months free with a 1-year package. It's time for Twit, the show where we get together and talk about the latest tech news with some fun people. I love it that Twit is always a little bit different, and yet we have our favorites, including Wesley Faulkner. Always great to see him. You have moved. You're in Missouri now?
I'm in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Yes.
Okay, I just gave away the fact that I don't know the flyover states very well.
They're practically the same thing.
No, they're not. I actually love
people.
Wisconsin. Where in Wisconsin are you?
It's Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So pretty far out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Do you have family there? Is that what brought you up?
Yes.
There? Nice.
Yep. We have my in-laws are here, and so we moved to be closer to them.
Great. And the weather's a little nicer than Austin. A little cooler, I think.
Yeah. It's raining constantly, and then it's hot, and then it's humid,
and then it's raining again. Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah. So here it's going to get cold, and we haven't experienced that yet.
That you're going to enjoy, and the kids especially. The first snow will be fun. Wesley's head of community at Single Store, and it's always a pleasure to have you on. Also, a great favorite of ours, all the way from Rome, where it's the middle of the night, Father Robert Balacer, the digital Jesuit. Hey, DJ.
Actually, I did move to Missouri.
I knew someone did. Mike is from Missouri. No, you're in beautiful Rome. You were out here last time we saw you. You go back and forth now, or what's the deal?
Every 6 months. So there's a recurring thing that I have to take care of, and it really got messed up by the pandemic. I was held off for 12, 13 months. So I'm back on schedule. About every 6 months, I'll head home for a little bit of R&R.
Are things locked down again at the Vatican? What's going on in Italy for COVID?
Not at all. In fact, there's a very distressing chart right after Italy won the cup. And all those celebrations took place across the nation. The rates just went up and up and up, and they just keep going up. So at some point, we're going to be slipping back into some lockdown, but it will never be as bad as the lockdown we had last year.
Ugh. And I do want to welcome, in a way, a new member to the panel, but in a way not. You've seen her with Jason Snell several times on This Week in Tech, Carolina Milanese. Great to see you, Carolina.
Thank you for having me.
Analyst and founder of a very interesting new company called The Heart of Tech. What is The Heart of Tech?
I help tech companies with their CSR strategy. So at a time where anything from sustainability to social responsibility and diversity and inclusion becomes so important, I'm trying to move from just PR to actually making a difference both to the company and the society around them and the community that they are present in.
Your timing could not be better. We need a little more heart in tech. Oh, you're way zoomed in, John. It's not that big. Zoom
That's
out.
a really big heart.
It's a big heart.
Whoa.
It's a big heart.
Anyway, welcome, Carolina. Really nice.
Thank you.
To have you. And I'm very tempted because you're here to talk about Blizzard and oh my God, there's so much bad news. But let's find something. I know. Here's one. No, Elon Musk did not demand to be made Apple CEO. There's a new book out that claims that Elon Musk and Tim Cook were having a conversation talking about Tesla being bought by Apple. This is back in 2016. And during the conversation, according to the book, which is called Power Play, Musk said, you can buy Tesla, but I need to be CEO. And according to the book, Tim Cook said, F you, and hung up on him. Both Elon and Tim have said now categorically, we've never talked in our lives. I don't know them. I know who he is. I have great respect for him, said Tim Cook, but I've never met him. I don't know how you get something this wrong in a book, but
Well, I mean, it builds on what has been a common trope in the tech world, which is Apple and Tesla are basically the same company. They've got the same kind of vision. They've got the same kind of drive for technology. They've got the same design aesthetic. And so it made sense that there would be some sort of massive partnership, if not an outright purchase. So,
it's credible.
It's credible, but I don't quite believe it. It doesn't sound right.
No, when they denied it, and it's written by a very respected Wall Street Journal reporter. The book is getting a lot of great reviews. I guess he just got a bad tip. I don't know, but it
was funny that Elon Musk commented on Twitter on it, and it was a back-to-back tweet. One commenting on the book saying that that never happened and the book is boring, but the one before saying that Apple is basically taxing the internet with their commission on the App Store. And so I joked and said, shame that you didn't talk to each other because you could have explained how to run the App Store better.
Yeah.
It was a very busy Twitter Friday or whatever day it was.
Every day is a bit busy. It's Twitter is what can I say? It's amazing. And if you follow this stuff, I guess Apple and Tesla seem to have some at least superficial commonalities. And I also think that one of the problems is you have one of the most careful CEOs ever, who's very successful, operationally brilliant, Tim Cook, versus one of the most out of control CEOs ever. Perhaps brilliant in a way that Tim Cook isn't, but they're very different people. And I'm very glad that Elon Musk is not running Apple.
It would make sense the other way around, that Tim Cook would say is that you're out of the company and you can't be a liability if we acquire Tesla.
Well, and in fact, Apple seems to have aspirations in the car field. I guess that's why it's credible that they might have been looking at Tesla, because Apple doesn't want to manufacture cars. They're going to need a partner to make them. But they are more and more beefing up their car division. What's the latest one, Carolina? They've brought in Kevin Lynch, who was the guy really who propelled the Apple Watch to such success.
That's right.
He's now been moved, according to stories. I don't think Apple's announced this, but according to rumors, he has been moved over to the car division. Yeah,
which is fascinating because I'm sure most people would not connect a watch with a car as far as what you're bringing to the table. But if you're thinking about the autonomous part and then the sensor part, there are a lot of synergies when you're thinking about products like that. But I agree with your comment about how the two companies are run and how if you're looking at Apple generally over the years, they're not just cautious with the rollout of certain technology. But if you're looking at privacy and data and how they use that, seems quite different from the approach that Tesla under Elon Musk has had over the years. The latest results on, for instance, on autonomous driving and how, if you're thinking about autopilot, how they're talking about, and especially Elon Musk talks about it, versus the reality of it, which is assisting driving, is not autopilot. So it's quite interesting. Definitely different approach to technology and how they interact with their customers too.
I also think it's the case that Apple isn't necessarily saying, oh, you're good with the watch, so you'd be good with cars, but more, you've been a very good executive leading the watch team, and we need that kind of leadership. They've got the brains. They've got John Giandrea, who came over from Google, who's a brilliant AI guy. They've got, it's rumored, hundreds, if not thousands of people working on this Project Titan. So the fact that they moved somebody who really was massively successful in health and watch over to the car thing, I think is more a sign that, okay, we need now real management, because this is going to be productized in the next couple of years in the same way the watch.
And Leo, you touched on this, and this is Cook's strength. This is where he came up in Apple. He is a logistical genius. Yeah. He knows how to move around the parts. He knows how to make the contracts into the future before anyone knows what they're going to make, so that they can guarantee dominance once they do enter a market. That's what he's doing. All the people who are being promoted under Cook are Cook-esque in that he gives them a project and he says, what do you need? What personnel do I need to give you? And what kind of contracts do you need to set up over the next 10 years?
Yeah, it's a reflection on the tech industry is a mixture of some very brilliant technical people, but then you also need management and marketers and other people who are not necessarily as technical. And I think that's probably where Lynch fits in there. He came from Adobe, I feel like. I think I remember. His background's kind
of... And there are parallels as well in the ecosystem that you need to build, right? From watch, where you're working with insurances and health and hospitals and researchers when it comes to heart and things like that. And on the car side, where similarly you have to work with government, you have to work with insurance. There's so much of that ecosystem at play, and not everybody, somebody might be a great engineer and a great product person, but doesn't necessarily understand how to work with others to bring the ecosystem with you with that product.
Yeah, the irony is, of course, Lynch was very much involved and a very strong advocate of Adobe Flash when he was at Adobe, something Apple hated. But it just shows you the redemption is possible. He was at General Magic. He was at he did Dreamweaver at Macromedia. And he certainly is a very accomplished guy. He's a Mac guy going way, way back. He was currently, I don't know if you've been a Mac person forever, but I remember Mac 3D, which was a very early Mac drawing application. He actually helped start that. So he's been a Mac guy.
I was actually a convert, so no. I came to the Mac after the iPhone.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Well, you don't even qualify. We'll have to wait 10 more years before you can call yourself a Mac user. Before you're in the club.
All those have in common is that you have to deal with a lot of vendors, and you'll have a lot of people from different sides who have different objectives that they have to meet. And so being able to work with other people's deadlines and other people's constraints and then integrating them together is a skill that I think is very unique, but also transferable from each one of those different roles.
That I would guess that's exactly what Cook is looking at, and that's exactly why. If Lynch went, by the way, I should say, I don't think Apple has confirmed this. This was a rumor, but if that actually did happen. Let's see. Boy, there's so many little tidbits to talk about. There's no big overarching story this week. Well, maybe there is, which is the tech industry has done very, very well. Thank you very much. Another massive quarter for Apple, for Microsoft, for Intel, for AMD, Amazon. All the tech companies had their quarterly results this week, and all of them through the roof, right? Apple broke, as they always do, sales records. This time, though, in Mac and iPad, $81 billion. Here's our friend Jason Snell's famous color charts. This is actually, believe it or not, encouraging. The revenue by category is only 49% iPhone. That's actually much better than it used to be. That's incredible.
Absolutely incredible. Yeah.
And part of that is that big purple slice here, 21% in revenue from services. But of course, both Mac and iPad have grown, and wearables now 11%. That's grown a lot too. That's the watch, of course.
That could be a resource constraints is why the iPhone is smaller, actually.
Yeah. In fact, Cook alluded to that, said the chip shortage is a problem even for our Macs. He said not with big processors, those we make ourselves through TSMC, and I think Apple has booked up all of TSMC's production for the next 20 years. But the little, he calls them legacy chips that every computer, every phone has to have that are manufactured by smaller companies, those are all in very short supply. Although I think the chip shortage, what have you heard lately, Wesley? Is the chip shortage starting to ease up a little bit?
It's all over the place. It's inconsistent, both on the demand side and the delivery side, like logistically getting into the right place and ramping up the right productions. And it doesn't seem like we're going to get anywhere close to predictable into the middle of next year.
Yeah. You can get GPUs now. People are telling me you can get an NVIDIA GPU. Maybe that's more because Bitcoin mining is moving into a different sphere, or I don't know. Well,
they've resourced they locked their drivers so that you can do mining on those.
Right.
So that's freed up supply a little bit.
Yeah. Anything to take away from Carolina? You're in Silicon Valley. Anything to take away from the great success of these companies?
Well, everybody kind of suffer from the same issue, which the quarter was great, but the outlook is not as strong. And so you've seen from a financial perspective, stock was impacted negatively because of that.
Every stock went down.
Yeah.
They made record amounts, but the stocks went down.
That's right, because you never are kind of, pat on the back because of what you just did. Everybody's looking at what you're about to do. And I think it's the uncertainty. We were talking before we started the program about the Delta variant and how things are developing. And there's just a lot of uncertainty, not just from a supply chains perspective, from a component point of view, but really about demand and what consumers will do. How much are we going to start going out and returning to normal life, and therefore defocusing from online, either for shopping for Amazon or entertainment and so forth. And it's just hard to tell right now. I also feel that everybody in tech is more influenced by international markets now that maybe they were years in the past. And so that uncertainty becomes even bigger because we're not in the same place. If you're comparing, we were just talking about Italy and Europe, the UK has opened up, but the cases are rising very quickly. The Delta variant here is also impacting hospitalization and cases. So hard to tell.
Yeah. Well, I don't necessarily think the stock market has some magical insight into what's going on. They seem very skittish. Stocks plummet and then they go back up, and now they've kind of stabilized and blah, blah, blah. That's no bellwether for anything we care about.
Leo, the takeaway that I like from this story is the fact that graph, it shows that Tim Cook did what he was supposed to do. He did accomplish what they brought him in as CEO to
diversify.
Diversify. When he came in, the iPhone was 90% of the profit of Apple. The revenue was still split up, but it was 90% of the profit. Even on this one, the iPhone is now about 50% of their profit. So not only are they earning more, but they're earning more from different sources. That's the kind of news that sets up Apple as not the one-trick pony that people thought it was going to be 6-7 years ago.
Yeah. And really, the services was the thing that they've been putting so much effort into over the last couple of years. Services being things like iCloud, but maybe more importantly, Apple TV Plus, Apple Music. And, of course, the big driver in services is the App Store. And Apple's going to face some headwinds. If I were an investor, I'm not, but if I were an investor, I would be worried a little bit about what the FTC, what Europe, what Congress is going to do about the App Store. As you pointed out, Carolina, Elon Musk said Epic's on the right side of this battle in the Epic versus Apple battle over the App Store. I have to think, and actually that's the second big story of the week, which was even though the FTC and Congress and the EU have been looking very kind of stink eye at big tech. Turns out that all the anti-big tech regulation that's happening is happening now in China. It's a lot easier if you don't have Congress, you don't have courts. You just go, hey, let's mix things up here. This week, China did quite a few things. They have been slowly clamping down. It started last year with Jack Ma and Alibaba. Jack Ma's Ant Financial was about to go public. China stopped that. Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, the Amazon of China, disappeared for a few months. He was the richest man in China, the richest billionaire in China, except for maybe somebody working for the government. I don't know we don't know those numbers. But he got shut down. Now Didi, their Uber of China, is being cracked down on. The latest one, this is an interesting one. A Chinese Supreme Court has said face recognition technology. This is something that we here in the United States were really kind of grappling with, and that China, I think, famously has really jumped on the face recognition bandwagon, whether it's to find Uyghurs in Xinjiang, or if it's to punish jaywalkers in Shenzhen by putting their face up on a billboard. But apparently, the Chinese Supreme Court said the public is increasingly worried about the abuse of facial recognition technology. The calls for strengthening protection of facial information are increasing, and they even slapped down a case where the Hangzhou Zoo wanted to use face recognition for people who bought annual passes. A law professor in Hangzhou sued and won. Now, I imagine they're not cutting back in any way in the governmental use of
no, China's kind of like Big Brother, not just in the 1984 sense, saying like we're going to spy on our citizens, but in the Big Brother saying, oh, you don't get to beat up my sibling, only I get to beat up my sibling.
I'm the Big Brother here. Here's a picture from the Washington Post of a Chinese Beijing subway station with, how many cameras do you see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I count 8, but I'm probably missing a few. Holy cow. I mean, yeah.
I remember China was fine with all the innovation. China loved the fact that you've got companies that are bringing in a lot of money. You've got companies that are employing so many people and really pushing advancements in technology. And it's sort of a national pride type thing. But what triggered it was when you had some tech executives who were pushing back on regulation. Now, we get that all the time in the United States. We've got Elon Musk every other week saying, oh, these silly regulators, if it wasn't for them, we'd be on the moon and on Mars by now. You cannot do that in China. Right. Insulting the regulations of a government in China is the same thing as insulting the government. You can't do that.
Right.
And they will put you back in their place, in your place, which is you are at the behest of the state. You are allowed to exist by the state. You are never bigger than the state.
I have two different takes, and I'm curious what you all think of these about why this is happening now in China. This is Jessica Lesson writing in The Information yesterday. I love her headline. What the heck is going on in China? She has a theory that she says, I've been wondering for a while. I finally got an answer during one of our morning editor huddles this week. Shai Oster, who's a longtime Hong Kong bureau chief, said to really understand what's going on, you have to look ahead to the end of next year. That's when Xi Jinping, who is the current president for life of China, will be going in front of the National Congress to extend his term as president for another 5 years, which would make it the longest since Chairman Mao. She says, or her Hong Kong bureau chief says, ahead of that, regulators and bureaucrats are trying to dust up their credentials and curry his favor. I don't know if I agree with that. Let's compare that to another take. This is from a guy named Noah Smith, whose blog is great. It's called No Opinion. Why China is smashing its tech industry. And he says something I think is kind of provocative. He said they're not smashing all of their tech industry. Huawei is doing great. China is investing massive amounts into their chip manufacture infrastructure. He says what China is really cracking down on is rent-seeking consumer tech companies. He said companies like Alibaba, Tencent, Didi are not really adding value to the Chinese economy. They're capitalizing on the Chinese economy, much like our own Facebook or Amazon are doing. And he says, and I think it's an interesting take. I don't know how informed it is, but he says this is actually the Chinese government's refocusing its investment towards hard tech instead of consumer tech. That's kind of your beat, Caroline. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I really agree with that. And I would take it a step further, saying that not only, if you're looking at Didi and Alibaba don't help the economy, especially internationally, but they also are empowering, if you like, consumers to form views that might not align with the government.
Well, that's another big side of it. Yeah, it's a place where you can put pictures of Winnie the Pooh.
Absolutely. And I think that, if you're thinking about internationally, they're going to have way more power by controlling supply chain of chipset, by controlling and winning AI. And think about the ramification of, we were just talking about face recognition, about ethics in AI, and what power you can or cannot have if you establish what the benchmark for ethics in AI can be. So I do think that kind of doubling down on what are the essential components of the future of tech, so cloud, AI, and semiconductor, is absolutely a smart move from the Chinese government.
Yeah, by the way, Noah Smith is an economist, a professor of a PhD in economy, so he maybe does have some standing to talk about this. I think I really like this take, but I'm ill-informed. But from a kind of a bystander point of view, it makes a lot of sense. He says, in America, technology was initially funded and went forward because of defense. After World War II, we invested heavily in DARPA, the National Science Foundation. He says many of America's most successful private sector tech industries are in some way a spin-off of these defense-related efforts. But after the Cold War, our priorities shifted from survival to enjoyment. And so leisure and consumption companies like Amazon and Facebook became the center of what Americans thought of as tech. But China never really shifted out of that survival mode. So he said China's young people may be increasingly ready to cash out and have some fun, but the leadership is just not there yet. And this is part of their soft power initiative, their Belt and Road initiative, to build China as an economic powerhouse, that's the future of China globally. That makes a lot of sense to me, actually.
It's also
you can see that in looking at the companies.
Go ahead, Wesley first, and then Father Robert. Sorry. No, it's late.
Okay. I was going to say that the other side of the coin is not just China is having less control over these companies, and so they're less valuable because they're serving the citizens. But more on the other side is that as these internet, quote unquote, internet companies branch off and expand to other countries, that those countries are having more of an influence on the shaping of those companies themselves. By saying, worry about data privacy, you must house your data here, and you must conform to these different laws and standards that are just pulling them away from their China center or their base over to more of a global type of atmosphere, which is generally more Western in terms of thought for that type of approach to technology. And so like what happened to Jack Ma is he's starting to have these more worldly thoughts and views that may not help the Chinese government, but also might seem like it's going counter and saying that they represent the country. And as these companies are being shaped by the global influence, they're not representing China at all. And so that is also they're being sullied and has a stain on them. So when you heard about the Trump administration going after TikTok, the Chinese government wasn't really all up in arms about it. But when you hear about Huawei, that was a bigger deal because it was something that was uniquely Chinese, and their influence around the world was more of a dependent on our hardware, our networking equipment, and it allows other countries to be dependent on China as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah, in fact, I think a lot of these companies are cracking down on, like Didi and Tencent have many investors outside of China, SoftBank and others, and so
Apple is an investor in Didi, actually.
Yeah. So it's a lot easier to clamp down on these companies, and maybe you don't really want these companies to exert Western influence over China, so you want to kind of truncate their capabilities. Very interesting. Anyway, that I think to me the big stories of the week were how well America tech sector is doing, how difficult it has been for the government. This has been the big story of the last 2 years, how difficult it has been for the government in the United States to regulate them, how easy it is for a Chinese totalitarian society to regulate it, and why. I think all of that's very interesting, and that is our story of the week. We're going to take a break, though. We have lots more to talk about. It's great to have you on, Carolina Milanesi. So nice to have you from the heart of tech. First time with me, and I'm thrilled we can have you. I detect a little Italian accent. Are you Italian?
I am Italian.
From Milan?
And then I lived in the UK, close by.
Okay. Well, it's nice to have you. Also from Italy, although he's not Italian, Father Robert Palliser. He's actually in Italy right now. This is a very cosmopolitan group here we got. Nice to have you, Father Robert, and of course Wesley Faulkner, who is so cosmopolitan, was in Austin and now is in Wisconsin. It's amazing. He's even in a town with a French name, so there you go. It's great to have all three of you. More news to come, but first a word from our sponsor. In fact, I want to welcome a brand new sponsor to the show. I've been actually very excited about them because I'm a big fan of their work, and I know they're fans of ours. Crowdstrike. And I know also there couldn't be a better time to know about Crowdstrike because ransomware is holding our businesses hostage. It's getting worse by the minute. And if you're in business and you're worried and you feel like it's only a matter of time before they come for you, the one decision you do not want to have to make, and I don't want to have to make, nobody has a business wants to make, is do I pay the millions of dollars in ransomware to get my stuff back, or do I just give up and lose all my data? If that's not, but that is not, it's not such a binary choice. There is a third option: to defeat your adversaries before the fight even starts. In fact, if you ask me, this is the only tenable option. We don't want to pay ransomware. We don't want to lose our data. You need Crowdstrike. With Crowdstrike, you're not alone in the battle against ransomware. A secure future demands a shared defense. That's why Crowdstrike's Falcon platform uses, I think, a very interesting, innovative technology, their threat graph. This allows advanced AI to analyze behavior all over your network, on devices, on servers, even cloud workloads, to find the threats and stop them. Their security platform delivers the industry's most powerful set of tools to fight today's most sophisticated cyber attacks, all delivered via the cloud through a lightweight, intelligent agent. According to Forrester, Falcon Complete delivers 403% return on investment, 403% ROI, and of course 100% confidence. Crowdstrike harnesses the power of every click, every action, everything that's happening on your network, every ally on your network, every adversary on your network, to grow stronger and stop cyber threats before they can stop you. Falcon Complete stops breaches every hour of every day through expert management, threat hunting, monitoring, and remediation. You know, security is a matter of layers, and it does it all, backed by CrowdStrike's breach prevention warranty. Oh, I like the sound of that. Breach prevention warranty. They don't just say it, they guarantee it for Falcon Complete managed customers who receive a warranty covering up to $1 million in the event of a breach. Nice. Terms and conditions apply. But you're not going to have a breach because you've got CrowdStrike. Gartner Magic Quadrant named CrowdStrike a leader for endpoint protection in 2021. Join the fight. Experience the power of Falcon platform for free today at crowdstrike.com/twit. That's crowdstrike.com/twit. CrowdStrike, because what we've built together is worth defending together, and they're here to help. You gotta visit the website. You gotta learn more. CrowdStrike.com/twit. Thank you, CrowdStrike, for your support of the show of This Week in Tech. All right, now we're going to have the fun stuff. That was all the heavy-duty stuff. Now we can just run through some. Well, maybe this is not so fun. Actually, come to think of it. What the hell is going on at Blizzard? Holy cow. What a mess. So, Father Robert, you're a gamer. I'm a gamer. I understand that there's a certain bro culture, I guess, that's sprung up in gaming. You don't have to look any farther than Gamergate to know how toxic it can become. I would hope that big companies like Blizzard and would be aware of this and do something about this. It appears that they really aren't, and they are in such deep doo-doo this week. Employees walking out. They now say Kotick, their CEO, apologizes for their tone-deaf response, promises action. This, of course, in the light of a lawsuit against them and a walkout for equality among employees. I don't know if I'm going to take very seriously what he promises. World of Warcraft is going to remove inappropriate references in inside WoW. Oh my gosh. But this was the story that, to me, showed that they have a kind of a systemic problem.
It wasn't just that bad things happened. It wasn't just the fact that there's a culture in gaming that is misogynistic and it's just not very inclusive. It was the fact that they doubled down on it. So when they were confronted by their employees, they went on the offensive and they essentially said, look, you're blowing this out of proportion. And they made a not so subtle threat that if you protest, you could say goodbye to advancement. You're not going to be moving forward and above in this company. That's not how you keep your talent base. Just ask Google what that does.
They need an HR department that actually works. They need some counsel. This was the thing, the Kotaku story that really blew the lid off it for me. Inside Blizzard developers' infamous Bill Cosby suite. So this goes back to BlizzCon 2013. So many nasty things. There's so many nasty
By the way,
stories.
it's Cosby and not Crosby.
Yes.
There's a switch over in the middle of the article.
Isn't that the funniest thing? Well, it was because in the lawsuit, it said the Bill Crosby suite throughout. Obviously, that was a mistake of the lawyers. It was the Cosby suite. We know that because there's a big picture of Bill Cosby. There you go. And also in that picture, the former developer Alex Afrasiabi, who was, I think, the poster boy for how this bad behavior. There's also in this Kotaku article a chat thread that I don't even want to read with Afrasiabi and some others. Just appalling. Apparently, Alex
has to do with pudding pops, I think.
Pudding, yeah. Jello pudding pops. It has to do with asking every woman he meets to marry him, and I put that in air quotes.
Yeah.
But the thing is, that was 2013, but it didn't stop. In fact, Blizzard initially said, "Oh yeah, we called it the Cosby Suite because the carpet at the hotel room looked like a Cosby sweater." But then when Blizzard moved, they moved the Cosby Suite conference room, and it had no ugly wallpaper, no ugly carpet, and they still called it the Cosby Suite. I can't even go on with this. It's appalling. Well, how does this happen? I mean, Caroline, you consult companies on this. How does this happen that a company gets so far down this rabbit hole that they don't even know how bad it is? They don't understand how bad it is.
There's so many things at play here. When I first read the story, I went through all the details that were shared, and it was disgusting and shocking.
Disgusting.
And then I saw the answer, and that actually got me angry and more disgusted, because how you respond to a lawsuit and is not dismissing what few tens of employees have been saying over a period of time. And if you look at the response from the CEO, is, this is when somebody apologizes about how you feel. it's the same response, right? It's not, we've done something wrong. We are sorry that you feel that way. That we're sorry that you've been uncomfortable. Well, no, you should be sorry for what you've done, and clearly, tell me what you're gonna do differently. And the how you get here, I think, is the culture and the fact that if you're looking at men in tech. And the bro culture is being glorified, and for so long that's where you don't create check and balances, right? Is because you can't do anything wrong. It's just, that's, boys will be boys. And I won't mention, what was it the locker room talk for a president?
Yeah.
That is what happens. That is the culture that some company create, where boys will be boys. And at the same time, if you're, somebody that is important to the company, you get away with stuff. Faber talked about Google, and that's, Andy Rubin and what happened there.
Yes. And he got, $92 million to quit. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard, and things are changing, but not everywhere. And I think, I wrote about esports years ago, like 3-4 years ago, about how much misogyny and racism there is in esports and gaming across the board. And I'm curious, I've been toying with the idea of writing about this. I'm curious about how, the democratization of gaming, if you like, with things like Xbox Pass and PCs becoming now such an important part of gaming for so many different people, will drive a better culture, because the audience is going to be different and better and more diverse. And so if you want to be successful, you're going to have to cater for that. And I think that's the other component, is that for years, you're talking to people that believe in bro culture, that actually high five, some of this behavior. You've not had to face the reality of this is appalling.
I wonder if some of this is because people at the top thought, this is what we have to do to get a good developer team together for this game. This game is a $1 billion game. We want it to continue to succeed. We're going to have to put up with this kind of behavior because that's what's going to take. I think there might be some of that. There might be some feeling that, these guys, look, programmers aren't notorious for their manners or their, ability to be in public. Maybe they thought this is just the price we pay. We just we isolate them. Let them go. I mean, there are a lot of women who play World of Warcraft. Felicia Day is famous for her guild. It seems like they must think this is necessary, I guess is what I'm saying.
I got a lot of opinions on this.
I bet you do, Wesley. Go ahead.
I was going to say, first, Carolina, what she was talking about, I agree with her in terms of like the people in power stay in power because that's what they perpetuate.
Right.
But just counter to what you're saying, I have to say, where you're saying they need an HR department that works, and it sounds like their HR department works, and it works very well. And that is to protect the company, to protect the people.
Yeah.
So that is why the California body had to come down on them so hard, is because they were not regulating themselves, because that's what they didn't really care to.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that they felt as if they didn't know this was happening. I bet they knew, and they encouraged it. And like she was saying about the apology,
I don't know if they encouraged
it's like,
it, but that's what I'm wondering, if there was this notion that, you just have to put up with that because that's, if we're going to have the best developers, that's what it's going to be like.
Well, that sounds like a piece of empathy of them concerned, which I don't think that they had. It feels like this is that company that
they didn't even. Yeah. There wasn't even like, we should do something about it, but we can't. It was, we don't need to do anything about this.
We don't. And
how do we keep from getting discovered? How do we keep from getting sued? Let's fix it.
Yeah, and so HR has been getting them out of this.
Right.
Yeah,
that's HR's real job, by the way, is to keep you from getting sued. Yeah. Yeah.
And so they've been getting away with this for years. And so why not keep going? if they are able to ride that lightning this whole entire time and have fun doing it. They don't care about other people, and diversity in the user base does help. But someone once said to me, like, plantations were very diverse, but it's like it's the people who had the power that gets to choose like how things get run.
Oh my God, you're right. Yeah, a lot of diversity in the plantation. So
wow.
Yeah. You
I
work
think
with. Go ahead, Caroline.
I was going to say one other thing that is different is what we've seen as far as the power that now employees have to go out and talk and be open, and to all the downsides of social media. There is a one plus as far as having a platform to go out and share your story and coming together. Think about back years ago, this was impossible. Behaviors like this have been going on, not just in the tech industry, but
everywhere.
Legal, politics.
Watch Mad Men and you'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, and you wouldn't know about it, right? Because to the point that Wesley was making about HR looking after the company, settlements are made, things are done, life is made miserable, and nobody knows about it. Now that's no longer the case.
I also think that some of this is if you have a few bad actors where it's tolerated and almost they're encouraging you, a lot of men are in the middle who will just go along with it, even though it might be against their better instincts, but it's just the way it is, so they're going to go along with it. So a lot of this has to do with getting rid of the bad actors and setting a corporate culture where it's not okay, because the vast majority of men, I don't think men are inherently bad. I think the vast majority of men will behave if the culture encourages it and discourages bad behavior. Does that seem? I'm trying to defend men. Maybe I shouldn't.
Well, you don't necessarily have to defend them because you have to remember that some of these people, it's just a job. They really don't care about the corporate culture. They're not hanging out with these people. They're not trying to invest their lives in this. This is something they do so that they can get paid, so they can live the life the way that they want. And so for them, this is not something that they want to invest their personal lives. It's strictly a professional issue. But there are some other issues that come to play here. There's the fallacy of the 10x worker. That, as you said, there are certain people that you have to protect, no matter how bad their behavior might be,
because they're so good,
because they're brilliant, because they're the ones who push through a project. However, we've come to see that sometimes a 10x worker is really just a person who's really good at pushing down everybody else.
Yeah.
And that's why they seem 10x.
Yeah.
There's also the fallacy of the sunk cost, that you've gone so far with a certain style of leadership and a certain style of project management that you can't change it. Otherwise, you lose all your investment in that style. So you've got this very strange confluence of things like the 10x worker and the sunk cost and the people who really don't care about corporate culture, and you get Blizzard. You get this nightmare of you've got legacy misogyny that they think is not a cultural issue, it's a PR problem.
It's so ugly. Wesley, do you defend programmers? You work with a lot of them. You work with developers. They're not bad people.
I mean, they're people.
They're people.
You get all kinds, right?
Yeah. But I think the notion that, you're going to have to put up with some of this to get the best people is mistaken. I think that you set the culture. Look, nobody's saying men can't be attracted to women. Nobody's saying you can't in your mind think these horrific thoughts. But you need to create a culture in the workplace where it just doesn't get expressed, that you treat people with respect and you push down your animal instincts.
There's a book that I read that kind of talks through this evolution of a company, but it's from a leadership perspective. It's called What Got You Here Won't Get You There.
Oh, good.
It's a really great book. I would read it if you haven't already. But there's a lot of this is how we operate, so we're going to keep going without reevaluating how you got there and what you need to do to get to the next level. And one part of that is that when it talks about a vacuum of power or leadership, if you don't expressly say what you're for and what you're against and what you should do and what you should not do in the space of that in that vacuum of power, people take that power.
Yes.
They'll step into that role, and sometimes those people shouldn't. And when there's a lack of leadership that is, I would say, leaning towards the positive, then there is going to be someone who's going to abuse it for their own means or use it to gain more power to get progression. And if that is rewarded, the company is what they reward. And if someone says, hey, you stepped up, doesn't matter if they crushed some skulls along the way. If they stepped up, that's leadership. You get a promotion, you get a bonus. And that's how these companies become this way, is because there's just frankly a vacuum of power for that's built based on like a noble good of how the company should be operated.
So I saw Mythic Quest. Is that what it's like?
I love that show.
Is that how it is working in a game company? Because if it is, ooh.
But I also think that we are at a time where, to the point that Wesley's making about leadership, that there are a lot of leaders in tech who are just not equipped to deal with what new leadership require, which is empathy, which is, really getting out of your comfort zone to understand somebody else that has a different background to yours. That is just what we haven't found a better way to talk about soft skill. I hate the term. But not a lot of people in tech have very good soft skill. EQs are way lower than IQs in tech, especially in leadership. And I don't think it's just you defending men, because it's not just a men problem. We've seen leaders, female leaders, women leaders that have been bullying their employees and created an environment that is just not a healthy environment.
I think that's.
Can I play devil's advocate?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't believe this. I'm with the panel.
No, you're a priest. We understand, but go ahead.
Okay.
Take the side of the devil. Go ahead.
If I am an investor, if I am an executive who is invested in Blizzard, I listen to this and I'll say, look, at the end of the day, I need someone who can publish. I need someone who can code. I need someone who can push out the product on the specified date. I don't care about everything else. And if you can't work at my company because you don't like the culture, go someplace else.
I'm sure that's
There's
exactly what happened. I will guarantee you that's what happened.
I think it's getting harder, though, for investors to just walk away from these problems, because it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you from, either a settlement perspective or a PR perspective. Yeah. And people don't forget, and especially when you're catering to markets where, Gen Zers and young millennials are a big part of your base. You're going to be to be very careful, because this generation is different from my generation, where we stuck with it, and even if we didn't think it was the right thing to do, talking about different things in e-commerce and so forth. But these people will walk away. I have a 13-year-old who is a gamer. They also are non-binary and mixed race. And so, there are certain games and certain content that they would walk away, and environments that are becoming, given that gaming is not just game, is game and Twitch, and, what the time you spend online with people in community that you build, that are very toxic.
Yeah, look at Basecamp.
And I believe that.
They rolled out.
Basecamp.
No, I cut off Father. Yeah. Go Father, please go. I could
go Father, go. Go Father, go.
I just want to say that I believe that, and I believe that matters, and I believe that culture is something that's good, not just for a company, not just for the bottom line, but for society as a general. But the one statement that I would have difficulty with is that we remember, that we have long memories. We tend not to.
No.
I mean, maybe for
That's
a quarter
true.
or two, but unless we can really show them
Just
that,
look at
if you
Facebook
do
results,
this,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So I mean, yes, we can protest for a quarter, maybe 2 quarters, maybe even hold a grudge for a year. But if I'm an investor, I think, look, I'll ride it out for 12 months and then we'll be back up to record profitability. I don't care.
Amazon is still one of the biggest employers in the country, right? I mean, even though it's it sounds like a pretty awful job. This, in a way, is the larger question in general about capitalism. and it's not just about misogyny or misbehavior in the Cosby room. It's about whether we care about financial results of a company more than we do about the company's impact on society. And unfortunately, we seem to reward companies for great financial results. But I hope that we're getting more and more aware of the consequences of, how a company behaves and not looking merely at the bottom line. Because ultimately, a company's success has to be more than its quarterly result. It has to be whether they're a good citizen. I hope.
No, it's power that's
too.
Entrenched. Like Carolyn is talking about, like she probably says this, that if it was money, this problem would be solved. Because most companies that are built of diverse teams make more money and they are more profitable. So this is more entrenched power, not being able to release itself rather than money. Because if you look at just general diversity, that those companies actually make more money. So it's not that. It's entrenched power that's not.
Is that widely known, though? I mean, you say that.
Everybody that is, in diversity, equity, and inclusion would tell you that a diverse team, a diverse company is more profitable, has higher engagement from the employee, has better, even innovation is fostered in a diverse environment because you tend to disagree more with one another, right? Because you're bringing different perspective into the conversation. The numbers are still what they are, which is very small. And I totally agree with Wesley that is about status quo and where the power is. And we going back to, who we hire people that are like us. We hire people that we are comfortable with. If the problem is at the manager's level, then you're surrounding yourself with people that are like you. And that's where you get to a culture that does the things that we read. I don't know if you watch the video where, the whole panel, so it was 6 of them, were asked about, one woman stood up to the mic and asked the question, it would be great to have, female characters in gaming that don't look like somebody who just stepped out of Victoria's Secret's catalog. And the answer to that question was, well, which catalog would you want them to step out from?
Oh, Lord.
And nobody said, and there were 6 men on that panel. And they were laughing and nobody said anything. And that to me was just like the best, 2 minutes, not even, of, that's why we got to where we got to.
That was actually a Blizzard panel.
Yep.
I guess this is, I think, I like your analysis, Wesley. It's a little Marxist, but okay. But I mean, the same thing with we know that renewable.
Actually, it's capitalist. It's capitalist. If money drove everything, then we would tend to have that model.
But it's also about who's in power. I mean, we know that, for instance, renewable energy is more jobs, better for the earth. Economically more powerful, but the entrenched incumbents make sure that doesn't happen. So it really is. It's a power dynamic more than anything else, I think.
Well, you can say the same thing about guns in the U.S. Right?
Everything. That's why we have a problem in this democracy, because money talks, and those in power have the money, and they're going to make sure they stay in power. That's why we have the best Congress money can buy. I'm going to see if I can find that panel, because that would be a fun video.
Well, while you're looking for that, something from the non-tech side, where I work right now, diversity has become a big thing. It's been a big push. And what we keep getting told is diversity helps you transition. Diversity helps you survive change. Because if everything is monolithic, if the culture is all the same, when there's a change, you die. And so that's been the big push around here. All of the committees that we've got running inside my state here, they're now adding women. They're adding people of color.
Good.
And yes, there was pushback at first for like the first 3 years, but now people see it. There's actually results coming from it saying, oh yeah, it makes more sense. We're getting better results. We're getting results that we can count on. And more importantly, we are now looking at what we need to be doing in 3 years rather than looking what we needed to be doing 10 years ago.
Here is from a 2010 BlizzCon panel.
I love what you guys done with Little Crest. I love the fact that you have a lot of very strong female characters. However, I was wondering if we could have some that don't look like they've stepped out of a Victoria's Secrets catalog.
And a lot of women in that audience cheering. And some guys booing.
What do you mean? Wait. Which catalog would you like them to step out of?
That's just cringe.
Oh, cringe.
Look at her face.
Yeah. Wow. By the way, Alex Afrasiabi was on that panel. He was on the right. Wow.
And he apologized. I think he or somebody else on the panel apologized. I should have come up with a better answer.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rack your brain. Greg Street, who is the former World of Warcraft lead designer, said, boy, it was a terrible answer at the time. It certainly hasn't aged well. I wish I had said something better. A little late at the time. Might have been nice. Yeah. All right.
I'm sorry I got caught.
Yeah. That's really, that's what
exactly.
it is. Yeah. All right. Do you think it's that way at a lot of gaming companies? I mean, is this just the tip of the iceberg?
Look, Hello Games. Hello Games actually has a very healthy culture. I
know
love
Rooster
the way
Teeth has some
company
problems.
Rooster Teeth got in trouble? Yep.
Yes.
Wow. Should we investigate the provenance of our games now before we lay our $60 down? How do you know? How do you find out?
We do as a home. We do that with pretty much everything that we consume, and sometimes you find out late, or things are buried, or somebody just says something, and it's not. I'm sure that as soon as people hear this, like, oh God, it's cancel culture. No, it's not. It is deciding that, like you do for anything that you do, for whether you're a vegetarian or not, you have some beliefs and you want to put your money and support and consume content or services that are aligned with your beliefs. And it's not about canceling anything. It's just about walking away for something that just doesn't match your belief.
Yeah, put your money where your beliefs are. That's completely fair. Let's take a little break. Boy, I thought this would be the light half of the show. That's still to come. Father Robert Ballecer, Carolina Milanese, and of course, Wesley Faulkner. Our show today brought to you by Wordtune. Do you know about Wordtune? This is another brand new sponsor. Really glad to have them here. I consider myself a good writer. I like to write, and I've done a lot of it. So I've written a few books and a few articles, and in fact, I started in this business as a writer. And so sometimes when I look at things like Wordtune, I go, oh, I don't need that. And then I started playing with it, and I went, I need this. This is great. Imagine having the world's best editor looking at your drafts. When you're in a time crunch and you have to write something important and impressive at the same time, it's stressful. We've all been there a time or two. Imagine how much easier writing would be if you had an expert on call to look at your drafts whenever you needed them to. That's Wordtune, a writing partner in digital form. And even if you're a great writer, Wordtune is not correcting you. Wordtune is helping you get your words just right. Now, I use Wordtune as a Chrome extension. In fact, one of the cool things about Wordtune is you can turn it on and use it on any site that you're on. I can use it with my Messenger. Have Wordtune look what I'm writing and suggest. But if you want to just try this out, I want you to go to the website, because you can actually use Wordtune for free directly from the website, or you can even use the Chrome extension for free and see what Wordtune can do. In fact, I love it. The website has room for 280 characters. So before your next tweet, have Wordtune take a look at it. I put all my blog posts through it. And it's not that they're correcting grammar or spelling. That's not what Wordtune does. What Wordtune does is shows you the other ways to express what you're thinking. You don't have to agonize over the perfect sentence. Wordtune helps you find it and helps you come up with ideas You may not use it, but it gives you lots of interesting ideas about how you can express what you want to say. Wordtune instantly provides options based on your original words that can really help take your writing to the next level. It can help stimulate thinking. It can make you more creative. Writing is perhaps the most important skill in any job. And if you're a blogger, even if you're a YouTuber, the words you write are really impactful. So it's important to write as well as possible. Wordtune is the first AI-powered online writing tool that understands meaning. It's not just word by word. It actually gets the context, so you can feel confident that what you're writing is as smart as you are every time. It understands what you're trying to say, suggests ways to make your writing more clear, more compelling, more authentic. It uses the most advanced language processing technology out there. This is completely state-of-the-art AI now. That's very, very interesting. It's a total game changer. In fact, let me just, out of curiosity, I could paste in here the copy that I'm about to read, and let's see. I'm going to try it here. It's ideal for professional writers looking for an edge, managers aiming to make their point perfectly, or anyone whose writing could use an occasional tune-up. Writing really matters. Good writing can help you succeed in work or school. Now, I've pasted this in at Wordtune. Let me rewrite it. And note what it does is it gives you a variety of possible choices, a variety of ways to think about what you want to write. It's not just one suggestion or one grammatical rewrite. And I think I've found, even though I consider myself a great writer, I get great ideas for new ways to express even maybe more effectively the same idea. I just think Wordtune is something everybody should have if you do any writing. It works anywhere you're working, online, Google Docs, Slack, Outlook Web, WhatsApp, and more. My listeners can try Wordtune for free at wordtune.com/twit. Get help writing your emails, reports, presentations, resumes, blogs today. Go to wordtune.com/twit. I love having it check out my tweets before I tweet. As I said, I'm using it for my blog, wordtune.com/twit. I think just try it. The nice thing is you can try it completely for free and get a sense of what it will do. And I think you'll be very impressed. This is living up finally to the promise. We've heard about these tools for a long time. This really puts it in your hand, and it really is amazing. They have their own. There's a Chrome extension, which is great, but they also have a Wordtune editor that you can use. In fact, if you do decide to use the editor, make sure you write twit in when they ask you how did you hear about us. And now you can just paste it in and use the editor. So there's an online web-based editor that makes it very easy. And that's free. Wordtune.com/twit. Thank them so much for their support of This Week in Tech. Moving right along, I know there's some lighthearted stuff in here somewhere.
Let's do something lighter. Maybe you have a cancer story? We could do that.
Oh, God. Senator Klobuchar proposes an unconstitutional law that would kill legions of people if Trump were still president. No, let's not do that one. Maybe, who's an expert here on quantum computing? You can explain what time crystals are.
Okay, so the second law of thermodynamics says that any spontaneous change is going to trend towards entropy. In other words, things get more disordered. That's just the natural flow of things.
It's why you can't have a perpetual motion machine.
Precisely. Unless you pour more energy into the system, it will just slowly become more disordered. So the time crystals, these things are amazing. They cycle through patterns, which means they will go ordered, disordered, all without additional input of energy into the system. In other words, it completely breaks the second law of thermodynamics, which is it's just a mind-blowing thing. I have no idea what the practical applications are, but the science behind it is amazing.
So Google says, this was a preprint they posted Thursday night, that in collaboration with physicists from Stanford, Princeton, and other universities, they've used Google's quantum computer to create and demonstrate a genuine time crystal. This is actually the second time crystal that's been created. Earlier this month, a separate group claimed to have created a time crystal in a diamond, evading the second law of thermodynamics. Okay, I guess, first of all, I think quantum computing is cuckoo, but now this is even cuckooer. What a brave new world we're about to enter. How close are we to getting quantum computers actually doing any real work besides making time crystals?
China's making the biggest advancements in quantum computing right now.
Really?
So, I mean, you'd want to be looking at their think tanks.
Yep. Wesley,
and IBM, both IBM and Google have done some amazing things.
Right.
I'm just amazed that we are the same human race that is coming out with this kind of breakthrough and yet struggles to put a mask on properly. So that's that.
Yeah, maybe maybe there's never been a time in human history where there's a greater gulf between the smartest people and the dumbest people. There's probably never been a time that the difference is so great. But maybe that is actually a sign of a cultural problem. It's kind of like the haves and the have-nots. It's not just money. You maybe have education and have not education. I don't know. Should there be such a gulf? Seems like that's a bad sign.
Technically, our corpus of knowledge continues to grow, and communications technology puts most of that body of knowledge at the fingertips of people who have access to it.
Yeah.
Right. Unfortunately, knowledge, the corpus of knowledge, doesn't mean understanding of that knowledge. And I think that's really where the gulf is. Everyone can access everything. That doesn't mean that you're going to know what you're accessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have no idea when they say it's that we have a newly realized phase of matter in which particles move in a regular repeating cycle without burning any energy. But there's a picture.
It's basically a perpetual motion machine.
Yeah. Wow. And how do we get them? Why so the quantum computer is just doing the math? Did it actually make a time crystal?
No. It's there. Anytime someone says quantum, all they really mean is that they're pushing past our known boundaries of physics.
Yeah.
Quantum computing is just a way of doing non-binary computing. Rather than ones and zeros, you can have an infinite number of values, which would speed up operation if we actually had software that could properly use that kind of processing power.
Right.
This is the same thing. We're going quantum in that we're not following the rules of physics as established in Newtonian physics. So quantum. It's the Rick and Morty episode where you say you can't just say quantum in front of something and make it a sci-fi term. It's
not like blockchain where you can just say it in front of everything and everything's better.
Well, no. There's quantum blockchain. Now that is a game changer.
So I'm reading this article trying to figure out what Google did. Did they make?
We're all trying to figure it out.
Did they make one of these? They did the math behind one of these. It's unclear. I don't think the computer can make anything.
I just want to chime in saying any claim about quantum and Google, wait.
Yeah, that's my feeling.
They've already made mistakes in terms of the reporting of what they've said in the past around quantum computing. Yeah. This could be something where it says, oops, we checked the numbers. We carried a one wrong.
Yeah.
So, I'm not sure. This doesn't make sense to me, but if it's true, that's amazing.
Like I said, there is a bigger gulf than ever before in human history between the big brains and the little brains. And I'm afraid I'm tending in the wrong direction at this point. So
for anyone who's struggling understanding quantum like I am, there was a video that Michael Pena, the actor, did for Google, where I encourage everybody to go and find it. And I can put in the notes the link to
we saw
the
it
video.
during the last Google I.O.
Yeah, I think that I don't want to understand quantum in a different way than that, because it was
definitely for every man.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know.
Hey, Sundar, how's it going?
There he is here. By the way, Michael Pena in the Google Quantum Lab.
Hey, Michael. Hey, I'm Eric, lead engineer here. I'd like to welcome you to one of the most powerful quantum computing facilities.
Yeah. I think some of this is because the Chinese government is doing it, so the federal government is pumping billions of dollars into quantum computer research, and a lot of these companies are going, hey, yeah, let's get some of that federal money. I'm a skeptic, but Father Robert, you're a little bit more a believer in the cutting edge. Do you think this is actually going to, in 10 or 20 or 50 years, there's going to be a quantum computer that could do something?
Well, absolutely. Okay. I mean, look, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. We need to understand it enough so that we can design equipment and software and a different way of thinking that can utilize it. This is no different than what we did with the space program or what we did with the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, but this is a little more out there, though, don't you think?
Well, I mean, show a phone to someone from the 1700s and they think it's witchcraft. What's the quote? Any sufficiently advanced technology will seem like magic?
Yeah.
I'm not remembering that properly.
But yes, that's Arthur C. Clarke's, and it's pretty close, I think. Any sufficiently advanced technology will seem like magic.
Is indistinguishable.
Indistinguishable from magic. I mean, yeah, if you think about microcomputer or microprocessor design, it's kind of hard to believe where we are. They have just announced, TSMC, that they're going to build a 2-nanometer process plant. IBM has unveiled its first 2-nanometer chip technology. This while Intel's still stuck at 10 nanometer, by the way. And it's kind of hard to imagine being able to make a processor, well, like the Apple M1 processor that has 16 billion transistors on something the size of your pinky finger, pinky nail.
Nail.
Yeah. I learned a new term this week on Windows Weekly. Some of these processors, they're now, instead of saying 2 nanometer, they're calling them 20A processors, 20 angstrom processors. And it turns out that 20 angstroms is 2 nanometers. And as we get lower and lower, I guess we're going to have to go into angstroms, which is...
It's like renumbering the warp scale.
Yeah. So IBM, for instance, has a roadmap now that goes to 2025, 4 nanometer, 3 nanometer, 20 angstrom, and 18 angstrom. On the other hand, I think quantum computing is just snake oil. But maybe I'm wrong. I'm willing to be wrong.
One of the things to remember, because every time one of these stories comes out about a new process that has been developed, which is great, by the way. I love the fact that we're continually pushing the size of our dies down. They always say, "Oh, but so and so is stuck on a 5, a 10, a 20 nanometer process."
Intel. Yeah.
Exactly. But you have to remember, for Intel, it's not just about innovation, it's also about product.
Right.
And what Intel has decided is, look, 10 nanometer, we know it works, we're getting high yields. Yes, we could push down to 5, 4, and 2 nanometer, but then the issue becomes yields. At those sizes, you're going to have increasing numbers of bad presses, bad processors. Right. So it's not worth it for them until the process becomes refined enough where they can say we can get 90% yields off of a 10-inch wafer.
And actually, the other issue is that it's, as many have pointed out, is that this measurement is no longer appropriate. It made sense with a 2D die to measure the size of the traces, but in fact, we have multiple dimensions now in the dies. So really what we should be talking about is transistor density. However, I guess the world is kind of used to the idea of measuring it in nanometers. So these are equivalents, I guess. Anyway, I said IBM. I meant to say Intel has a Intel 18 angstrom process for 2025, they say, although their roadmap has been a little bit of fiction for some time now, so I don't know. This is actually a more important chart from AnandTech that I wanted to point out. I pointed out before, translating nanometers into transistor densities, which really is more to the point. So when we're talking Intel's 10 nanometer process, that's roughly 100 million transistors per square millimeter. This new IBM processor is more than 3 times that, 333 million processors per square millimeter. That's that 20 angstrom process. So that maybe is more relevant. I understand things like that. Transistor density, I get that. I get that. Now, when we can make a computer with a time crystal, then we've got something. Moving right along, how about the metaverse? Here it comes, according to Mark Zuckerberg.
Is this from Loki? And
I love the leap. Yeah.
Yeah.
From something we don't understand to something else we don't understand.
Something else we don't understand. You know, I knew this would happen at some point, that I would be able to keep up with technology for a certain number of years. And at some point, I'm just going to have to retire because I'll be saying nonsense words that I don't understand. The metaverse I've heard of because that goes back to the great Neil Stephenson novel, Snow Crash. And there's been a lot of sci-fi since that 1992 novel talking about the idea of a computer-generated world that seems as realistic as our world, that you can somehow get in, usually by plugging in a cable, a thick cable into the back of your head, like Neo in The Matrix. And then once you're in it, you know, you can travel around, you can fly, you can do all sorts of things that you couldn't do in the real world, but it's indistinguishable from the real world otherwise. I think a lot of tech executives' brains have been propagandized by reading this science fiction. Zuckerberg has announced that Facebook, he says, don't think of us as a social media company. We are a metaverse company. And this may not be new. Remember, he bought Oculus.
Yeah.
So they're absolutely thinking even then about some sort of social network that would be a virtual reality space.
I love this explanation of it. And he said something along the line of, it's like the internet. You can do everything that you do on the internet and things that you cannot do on the internet, like dancing. And it's like, okay.
Well, it's about
that
time.
Makes it clear.
Thank goodness I can dance finally in the metaverse. Is this, what does this mean? I mean, I understand what the metaverse is. I understand why Mark would like to say, hey, we're a metaverse company. But what does it mean practically from the point of view? How is this going to change Facebook? Go ahead, Wesley.
I was going to say the image that popped into my head when I was reading this article was not Ready Player One per se, but I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
Which was talking about the Cylons, but there was a prequel that explains that called Caprica.
Oh yeah, loved Caprica.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that they had this thing called a holoband, or I forget what it was called, and they would go into another space. And that's what came to mind when I read this article of what he's envisioning, where there's seedy parts, there's good parts, there's parts for school, that there's parts you can create and work on your own world. So if you're not familiar with Caprica, watch that, and I think that'll probably be really close to what he's saying. But how's this, married to Facebook is that when governments are trying to regulate you, create your own world where there are no governments, maybe. Come up with
He's more ambitious than Larry Page, who wanted a Google Island at one point.
Yes.
This is a little more ambitious. He does say, doesn't he, that there won't be any government in charge in the metaverse.
I mean, think about it. Like when everyone's in a different country or a different organization and you're all meeting in this quote unquote neutral place or this place online, how do you govern that per se? It's like really complicated because it's almost like international waters. So this could be like a giant land grab akin to Roblox. It's a platform where people can make their own stuff and plug into it. But if you control that platform, it's supposed to be open, but yet you have to conform to those rules. I think that is a really good form of control where you create the elemental parts that people piece together. It's what he was saying, like it'd be kind of like you can make your own pieces and anyone can be a part of this ecosystem. It's almost like when Internet Explorer made their own Java competitor. they can roll out these things on their own platform that will not be necessarily compatible, but other people can be a little bit more compatible, but they'll always have the edge if they control the technology. So it makes sense to them that if the strongest thing that they can do in their old platform was connect people and then throw ads in, this is another way to connect people, but then throw other ads in. So this is a land grab.
It is, yeah. It's all about commerce, as from the way Zuckerberg was talking about it. But, if what Wesley just said absolutely scares me out of my own skin when I think about how abusive of a platform Facebook is today and misinformation and everything else. And you get to do that in something that feels much more real to you, right? Much more immersive. So if we're talking about abuse and bullying and all the rest that comes with it, how scary of a world would that be?
It's interesting that Zuckerberg's taking a page from Tim Cook's playbook. This was during the analyst call. Cook for years now has in his analyst calls saying we're very bullish about augmented reality. We're without actually announcing a product, without even saying, what they plan to do with augmented reality. Just we're very bullish on augmented reality. And I think, Zuckerberg's doing the same thing with Facebook. They've created a metaverse group. They announced executives who are going to run it. They say thousands of new employees. But they really, it's very nebulous what he's described. It seems to me it's one of those things that he knows that geeks will go, oh, that's cool. I can't wait to get that. But right now it's Oculus Quest, and you have to sign on to Facebook to use it. And it's not that really immersive of an experience. He thinks
investors are as skeptic as you are.
Yeah, yeah. They didn't help the stock price. He thinks that Microsoft will play along, Roblox, NVIDIA, Epic. They all have their. And I guess that's how it is in Ready Player One, right? There's it's certainly the way it is in Neil Gibson's, I don't know what he calls it, metaverse. Neil Stevenson calls it the metaverse, where it's different kind of corporate islands, but they all interconnect and you can move around and there's different rules and different environments. I guess that sounds interesting. Do you think it'll happen in the next 20 years?
God, I hope not.
Really? I would have thought of all people, Father Robert, you would embrace this. You love, Factorio, or, you and I both play Valheim. We like these immersive worlds. In some ways, I played Valheim so much for about 400 hours in just a couple of months. That's like a full-time job, that it felt like another life. That was my other life that I was going to go into.
And I get that. Immersive entertainment it's interesting and it is very attractive for what it can give us. But right now I'm struggling with stepping away from my screens because everything I do, from entertainment to work to communicating with friends, is done through my screens. I don't want a metaverse. I don't want something that everything in life is supposed to take place in. I want life to take place in life. And this seems like it's going in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Give me a great tool. That's fine. I will use it. Give me access to human knowledge. I'll use it. Tell me that the only way I can interact with the world is through a screen? No.
Well, maybe it's not a screen. Maybe it's a big cable you plug into the back of your head.
Well, that sounds wonderful.
So keep in mind that they're in a place where they can't acquire new users. Like the government won't let you buy new companies. And so they have to create something that's going to be the next big thing, because they're saturated in their current, even though they're still making money, they need to have something we're going to be the next big thing in order to show or signal that we're going to continue to grow. And so they have to go in this direction.
William Gibson called it cyberspace. Somebody's telling me in the chat room. That's right. He invented the word cyberspace for this. And in Neuromancer, they jack in, right? They plug in. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Caroline.
No, that's okay. It's the same shift that we've seen from PC to mobile, right? So what comes next? And so that's
what everybody's trying to figure out. Right?
Yeah. Is how, and it's interesting because, Farah was talking about entertainment. He didn't really talk about that. He specifically talked about commerce. And so the idea of being more immersed in what you're experiencing, being a service or a product, which I thought was quite interesting, really appealing to the advertisers, not necessarily content creators per se.
Oh, I think that's really interesting. Do you think that's a mistake? Do you think you should start? I mean, look what YouTube did. They started with the content creators. Look what TikTok does. They started with the content creators. Somebody has to make the content before you can sell it.
Well, you need to get people there before you can pitch something to them, right? And I'm not going to go somewhere just because you're going to try and sell me something.
In fact, the genius of YouTube and TikTok is they created a platform where they somehow persuaded, if actually in some ways this is the genius of Facebook, they somehow persuaded a lot of people to create a ton of compelling content for free and then created an algorithm that would pick the best, most compelling content and show you that and generate this incredible flywheel that then and only then you sell. I just read that TikTok now has had 3 billion downloads. That's pretty good in a world where there's only 7.5 billion people. 3 billion downloads.
You know, at some point, we're all going to become immune to the little micro doses of serotonin that we get from every like and retweet and sharing of our videos and our content. I mean, that's a biological fact. You can't keep doing that forever.
Yeah, they call it ahedonia, the inability to have pleasure. You've burned it out. Oh, that's good. Well, at least
that's why I do an 8-day retreat every year. I disconnect from everything.
Yeah, I think that's smart. I think we're going to all do that. At least Rick Astley got his billion views. I am not going to Rickroll you, fear not. But he
remastered it in HD. It's wonderful.
So the official video for Rick Astley's 1987 hit, Never Gonna Give You Up, is now a 1 billion view video on YouTube because of Rickrolling, right? I don't think without Rickrolling there would be, in fact, anybody watching this video. And furthermore, in case you don't know, Rickrolling is, of course, punking somebody by sending them a link to something they really want, and instead they get a video of Rick Astley, Never Gonna Give You Up, dancing like they danced those days. He's really young in that. He was very grateful, by the way. Did he know? When did he learn that what Rickrolling was? Because I'm sure.
I think it's when he got Rickrolled. Someone probably sent him his own video.
He is very grateful. His career obviously got a little kick in the butt.
All of his parents explaining to their kids who he is.
Yeah, exactly. Here he is expressing his gratitude. Rick Astley. Let me go back.
So I've just been told that Never Gonna Give You Up has been streamed 1 billion times on YouTube. That is mind-blowing. The world is a wonderful and beautiful place, and I am very lucky.
And now you know why we use sound engineers when we record audio.
And we don't record on a lake.
Yeah, what is he, in a boat? What the hell is he's doing? He's on a boat.
He missed an opportunity to start off saying they was thinking and then cut into the Rick.
He should have actually cut to it. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. 1 billion views. That's nothing. I mean, Oppo Gangnam Style. Where are we now with Oppo Gangnam Style? There are many multi-billion. It did, but there are many multi-billion view. What is the most viewed YouTube video, I wonder? Let me see. I always think he kind of looks like you in this, by the way, Oppo Gangnam Style, Father Robert. I feel like it's kind of Father Robert singing this song.
I danced to this thing enough.
Yeah, God knows.
We had fun. We had a lot of fun with this. This song single-handedly, it proved the concept for the studio, for the Brick House, because there was so much entertainment that wasn't in the show.
Yeah, we
it
could
was
actually
between the shows.
And you mastered that strange dance that he does with he's riding the horse. Okay. You actually were quite good at that. 4.1 billion views on
oh my goodness,
Oppo Gangnam Style. But I don't think that's the top. I think there's 7 billion view songs now. So 1 billion isn't all that great. I suppose if I went
But okay, look, you know what? That song, Never Gonna Give You Up, it's actually a good song. It's an 80s song. I mean, it's a period piece.
It is.
It's not just a meme. It's not just a roll.
Actually, I think Baby Shark might be the most viewed. 9 billion views for Baby
my
Shark.
goodness. Are you serious?
9 billion views.
Also Korean.
Also Korean. There's something going on. There's something in the water. Should we just play a little bit of that? Let's just play a little bit of that just to drive away all the
You'll get a copyright strike for sure.
Will you? If you play it?
Yeah. Actually, Ali Spagnola broke this down. She explained why that song is so addictive. It's because it ends on a minor chord. And anytime we hear that, we want resolution
so you
to
play it
a regular...
Again.
You play it again, and it never happens.
Please,
so
Mommy, give me a major chord, please. I was completely blissfully unaware of this song until we were in Dubai a year ago. And, you know, in Dubai, they have the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world, and has lights going up and down. And in front of it, they have a fountain display, kind of like in Vegas in front of the Bellagio where it fires. And they play music on the hour, and they do the thing. So we're standing there waiting for the fountain display, and there it goes, Baby Shark. And I had never heard this song before. But you know what? It ended on a minor note, and that really bothered me.
You want the resolution.
Again. Yeah. That actually makes
again and again and
makes
again.
Sense. All right, let's take a break. Our show today, Father Robert Balasaire playing the devil's advocate today. Nice to have
my favorite job.
Nice to have a Jesuit playing devil's advocate. Actually, I think the Jesuits invented devil's advocate, didn't they? I think they did.
I'll have to check.
Research that. Ask the guy.
The information would be in the archives about 20 feet away from me.
Oh, yeah. So we invented the devil's advocate. I should not do that accent because Carolina Milanese is here.
Please don't.
She says, you sound like Father Guido Sarducci. What the hell is that supposed to be? Thanks for joining us, Carolina. And she'll never come back. Founder of the Heart of Tech. I'm sorry. I was trying really hard not to do that. And Wesley Faulkner.
You're forgiven.
Thank you. Head of community at his brand new biz, Single Store. Is that singlestore.com?
Yes, it is. Singlestore.com.
Nice. Very nice. Our show today brought to you by Podium. You know, it's funny when you were in business, it's funny how technology changes and the expectation changes. So, you know, in the early days, if you didn't have an answering machine, like people called your business and nobody answered, you had to have a service at least, then an answering machine. And then a little later on, you had to have a website, right? An email address so people could contact you. These days, and I kid you not, and I think if you think about it, it's really true. If you're a business and you don't text, if you can't do text messaging, you're kind of not modern. One of the good things that's come out of this kind of whole COVID thing is on demand. You know, blockbuster movie releases at home, curbside pickup from your favorite restaurant, remote health checks. With these changes, your customers come to expect an easier, friction-free way of doing business. And I don't care what your business is, but if you're a business and you're not using text messaging, you're really missing the way your customers want to interact with you. 90,000 local businesses of all sizes have turned to Podium. Whether you have one location or 1,000, Podium, Podium, can help you stay ahead. They make doing business as easy as sending a text. Because, you know, texts get opened at a much higher rate than email. When texts get open, business gets done. All your employees can use Podium text from a single inbox. That's a huge improvement. Employees love it. It's a much smoother experience for your customers, too. So if you're answering questions, you can send a text. If you're collecting reviews, Podium can help you with that. Send a text, and you get many more reviews. If you're scheduling an appointment or delivery, send a text. Nowadays, if my dentist doesn't text me before my appointment, I don't even know if I have an appointment. Payment collection? Yes. Podium can do that too. Just send a text. Car dealerships are selling more cars by using text messaging. No one wants to talk to an automobile salesman. I'm sorry, guys. It's true. But a few text messages really can be effective. Podium has a dealership that sold a $50,000 truck in 4 text messages. Dealerships are running profitable service centers with easier appointment scheduling and reminders. And just think about it. As a customer, wouldn't you prefer Instead of calling the dealership to schedule an appointment, sending a text message, it just works better. It's more the way it fits your life. Home service providers are responding faster, winning more jobs than their competition. When a homeowner wants to get in touch, they don't leave a voicemail. Texting lets you get back in touch faster. And you know what? If a homeowner says, I'm going to text 4 different glass repair, I know I did this just the other day, 4 different glass repair companies, the one that gets back to the text fastest, that's the one that gets the job. Retailers are increasing revenue by allowing customers to shop via text message. Even as stores start to open, a lot of us don't want to go into the store. You can ask for reviews, and people are much more likely to review on Google or Yelp or any other review platforms you prefer. You can get payments that way. A dentist in New York City had over $1 million in overdue collections. He sent everyone a text payment request via Podium, collected 70%, $700,000 in just 2 weeks. It really works because people aren't trying not to pay you. It just make it convenient for them, and they'll do it. Today's customers want on-demand everything, even from local businesses, especially from local businesses. This is how you compete against the big guys. Stay ahead of the competition with Podium. They have free plans for growing businesses, but as you grow, they have all the power you'll need to scale. Get started free today. Podium, podium.com/twit. That's podium.com/twit. Does your 14-year-old play Baby Shark over and over and over again, Carolina? Is that why you hate that song?
Used to. And they did it as punishment because they knew they would get to, and then we would just both, go on with it it was Let It Go and then Baby Shark.
Oh, Let It Go. Yeah, from Frozen. That was one I hear parents bemoan all the time. My kids are much older. They're 26 and 29. It was Barney in my day, and man, Barney would drive me up the wall. So I know. Wesley, what does your kid do to punish you?
Usually it's actually ignore me is what they do. But I used to be a software tester at a microprocessor company, and we had to test all kinds of software. And the thing that tortured me was Teletubbies.
Yes.
Back then.
Yes, the Teletubbies.
Yeah. Remember Martin Shkreli, the Farmer Bro?
Farmer
Bro had a lot of money, was a little brash, a little outspoken. Finally got done in, serving time right now. He had raised the price of a life-saving drug 5,000%. Later convicted of securities fraud. He's serving 7 years in prison. Among the things he bought with his ill-gotten gains, a one-only copy of a Wu-Tang Clan album. This is before NFTs, but clearly Wu-Tang Clan knew how to capitalize on this. They created an album called Once Upon a Time in Shaolin, and they auctioned it off. Only one person gets that album. An anonymous buyer has it now. Martin Shkreli had to forfeit it as part of his $7.4 million forfeit judgment. And the federal government has just sold off Once Upon a Time in Shaolin to an anonymous buyer. It was a 31-track album Shkreli bought for a reported $2 million back in 2015. There is no physical or digital duplicate in existence. It's actually better than an NFT, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Included appearances from the wider Wu-Tang family. I don't know what this means. I'm just reading this from NPR. NPR apparently knows who Redman and Kill Army are. Upon learning it was Shkreli who bought the album, Wu-Tang member, how do you say that, Father Robert? Arza?
RZA.
RZA?
The RZA
told Bloomberg the group decided to give a significant portion of the proceeds to charity. I don't know how much. Let me see how much the anonymous buyer paid. Do we know? No.
It was more than the $2 million.
Really?
That Farmer Bro paid for.
See, it was a good investment.
It settled out the debt. It settled out his debt to the government.
Oh, you're kidding?
Yeah, it was a decent investment.
The contract of sale, says the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York, contains a confidentiality provision that protects information relating to buyer and price, so we may never know. But his payment of his forfeiture is now complete. That's it.
Evidently, that wasn't the only one-of-a-kind album that he owned. I can't remember who the artist was, but there was another album that was similar. It was the only copy, would never be re-recorded, would never be performed live. And so there are stories of him sitting in his apartment by himself, just listening to these albums and realizing
only I have.
he's the only one who will hear it.
Only I can listen to this album.
Yeah.
It came in a hand-carved nickel silver box, a leather-bound manuscript containing lyrics, and a certificate of authenticity.
Wu-Tang Bao.
For context, for people who don't know Martin Shkreli, he is the kind of jerk that other jerks looked at and say, man, that's a jerk.
He was, in some ways, to his credit, an unapologetic jerk. It was like, he wasn't like these Blizzard people saying, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, no.
No, he leaned into
owned
it.
it.
He owned his jerkiness. That's funny.
You see, he didn't even have to buy a unique something to do it on his own because nobody wants to do it with him anyway. So.
Now in a way, billionaire jerkiness, we're just kind of used to it. It doesn't faze us. We just kind of, he was ahead of his time. Let's put it that way.
He was a pioneer in douchebag.
Early douchebag. Let's see. Sony has sold 10 million PS5s, which is amazing considering you can't get one. I don't know who these people are buying them. That's more than 2 million, up more than 2 million from the 7.8 they announced in April. So the PS5 is way outselling any console in Sony's history. Even though
it is quite amazing given the shortages.
Yeah, they can't make them. We got one for my 18-year-old. He got it, but it was hard. I remember we weren't able to get it at release. We just, you had to hammer all these retailers constantly. Finally managed to find one.
You know who pioneered this strategy?
Apple?
Nintendo.
Oh,
no,
you're
Nintendo.
Right. Yeah.
If you read the book Console Wars, it's a fantastic read about Sega versus Nintendo.
Right.
Nintendo's their official strategy was to always overpromise and underdeliver on consoles.
Scarcity.
It's the scarcity. You create scarcity, and Sony has turned it into a science.
I don't know that is as intentional as the Nintendo one, though. I think that we would have happily sold more if they could make them.
If they could have sold 20 million, they would have, absolutely.
I think 5 million of the PS5s are actually bought up by an eBayer who's one at a time selling them off at
I think you're right.
markups.
Actually, I should check. I did not pay. We did not buy a scalped PS5. We actually bought, from retailer at retail. Let me just see. Oh, they've gone down. The prices have gone down. They're around $850 now to get a brand new PS5. That's a lot less.
The last console I owned was an Xbox Xbox One.
Wow, really?
It's been a while, yeah.
And why? Because you like PC gaming?
Well, because I travel a lot, and I can do all my gaming on my PC, so I don't need to carry around a console.
Yeah. Did you get in line and buy the Steam console, the Steam Deck?
No, but someone in the Vatican did.
What? Wait a minute.
Somebody did.
Who could that be?
Not a priest. There's a lay person.
Oh, okay. Not the Pope.
No.
Okay.
Although he will own you in COD.
Oh yeah. You don't want to play Call of Duty with the Holy Father because he's
got reflexes like you wouldn't believe.
Man, like a cat.
He will 360 no scope you every day of the week.
Scarlett Johansson is suing Disney. Oh man.
This is how you know her contract is really done. It's all cards on the table.
Was this the last movie she was going to make for them? I guess it must. It is now.
Yeah.
Black Widow, of course. But now she made a very, very good deal that would allow her compensation, according to her attorneys, would be based largely on box office receipts generated by the movie. But of course, thanks to COVID, Disney Plus had the movie day and date of its release in theaters. And while it was $30 to watch it, apparently that affected her revenue. Her lawyers estimate a loss of about $50 million. She said her contract very specifically says it has to be from, that she gets box office. And let me see, Disney said, "There's no merit whatsoever to this filing. The lawsuit is especially sad and distressing in its callous disregard for the horrific and prolonged global effects of the COVID-19 panic." Oh, come on.
Which is why they were charging her $30 for it instead of releasing it.
Yeah. So they did say she was paid $20 million to be in the movie. Her lawyers say there's another $50 million left on the table. That's an interesting peek into the life of a Hollywood movie star. $70 million.
But they also said that they didn't even, like, she tried to reach out to him saying, "Hey, before you do this, this is an issue with my contract," and they basically ignored her.
They blew her off.
This is her only recourse to even have a conversation with them.
I remember when Warner Media announced they were going to do the same thing with Warner Movies, that there was a real concern among artists in those movies that this was going to kind of steal money from them.
All the movie theater as well are not happy about this.
Well, they're
obviously,
definitely
pre-pandemic, because now you're created a precedent, and it's going to be interesting to see, how they're going to deal with it long term, even if it's not at the same time, but say maybe you need to wait a month. For lots of people, especially, families where you end up spending more on popcorn and drinks than you do the tickets when you go to the cinema, it's quite convenient for certain things. And I think, the whole back and forth between Scarlett Johansson and Disney, for me, boils down to there is a contract. What does the contract say? And if they did breach the contract, pandemic or no pandemic, she has the right to say that. Whether or not, they decide how they go about, it shouldn't have been a unilateral decision on Disney's part to change the term of the contract.
Yeah, Warner gave Gal Gadot money for Wonder Woman because of that same issue, but apparently Disney wasn't willing to. Johansson's lawyers point out that Disney had a good reason to do this because it beefed up Disney Plus, and that potentially there was more money to be made in Disney Plus, money they did not have to give Ms. Johansson. Apparently was in her contract that the release of the picture would be a theatrical release. The question is, theatrical only? She says it's understood by everybody in Hollywood. Theatrical means you put it out in a theater, and then 90 to 120 days later you offer it for streaming or on DVD. But that's maybe not explicitly stated. So there was a theatrical release. Disney, I think, taking advantage of it a little bit. We'll see what the lawyers end up with.
And remember, this is not the first time that Disney has tried to take advantage of its big ticket actors. Actually, they had a problem with Scarlett Johansson. They had a problem with Hemsworth. They tried to cheap out on their contracts. The reason why Disney wasn't able to do it is Robert Downey Jr. stood up and he said, "I will step away if you don't pay them what's owed."
Good.
So now that he's out of the picture, they don't have that protection.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Well, it's also interesting to look at audiences, and to your point about bringing audiences to Disney Plus versus the cinema. I was looking out of curiosity because there was somebody theorizing that it was a chick flick, if you want to call it that, right? It was more targeted to women. And when I kind of see the movies that did well in the past with women, like Frozen as an example, and then I wanted to see if how audiences feel, women versus men, about COVID and going to the theater. And women are much more reluctant, and they have a higher concern around COVID and public spaces than men do. And so, and maybe I'm just trying to explain this in a way that did not even cross their mind.
You can say it. You can say it. Women are smarter about COVID. Just that's fine.
No, but is maybe that's what it was, that they didn't think they were going to get the audience that they were hoping for in the theater because it was a skewed audience towards a female audience, and so they moved it to Disney Plus sooner than they intended to try and capture that.
The lawsuit.
But I mean, they got the same thing with Captain Marvel.
Yeah, the lawsuit.
Captain Marvel, the bros hated it.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Because she was a woman.
Yeah.
The lawsuit cites a Variety article from February, which said that Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige, is it Feige, was opposed to the hybrid rollout, but that Disney, the executives higher up at Disney, forced him to do it. Either overruled him or convinced him to change his mind. He was reportedly angry and embarrassed about the decision, and tried to convince them not to release Black Widow on Disney Plus until after the standard theatrical window. So that's interesting. That sounds like then maybe it is the higher-ups who said, well, we've done the math, and we're going to make more money if we don't pay Scarlett $80 million. That's shameful. And
I mean, just think about doing that to an actress who has been part of the biggest moneymaker in cinema history.
Yeah.
That's so strange, because they realize actors are dying to work with them, and they know that they'll take the shaft just to be in the Marvel universe. That's right. Oh, I hate that.
Right.
I remember, I'm not sure who said it first, but someone said that this is going to settle before it actually goes to trial.
Oh, of course it will.
Discovery is going to be
you do not want
for Disney.
You don't want those emails to be released.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. We did talk a little about results. I guess a couple of takeaways that I didn't get into. One of the reasons Google had Alphabet had such a good quarter is that digital ad sales way up, especially on YouTube. Lots of money to be made from digital ad sales. I guess that's a good thing for me. I don't know. I didn't see any of that money, but anyway. Spotify said ad revenue was up 110% as well. So that's big. Yeah.
YouTube ads have become so weird for me. And this is not my fuzzing because I have no servers in India. But for some reason, all my ads are Bollywood flicks now. Some
wait a
bit
minute.
got flipped.
You don't get to both misinform advertisers about who you are and where you are, and then complain about the ads you get as a result. You don't get to have it both ways. My ads are perfectly tuned to who I am.
But I have no point of presence in India. So when I get the Russian ads, when I get the England, the UK ads, the Ireland ads, I understand that. Bollywood?
Maybe
Bollywood?
You don't know what made up data point they're using.
Maybe they saw that video of you dancing and they thought that.
That's right. They misunderstood your dancing. Right. They said, oh yeah, he loves Bollywood. I got a call from a guy terrified that his Kindle would no longer work. And I said, it's not Amazon's fault. The first and second generation Kindles will no longer be able to get online using the 3G network. Remember what that happened when the Kindles came out? It was kind of amazing. They said internet access forever. Yeah. And of course, it was 2G or 3G access, and you could use it to buy and download books from the Amazon store. But as the cell phone companies sunset their 3G networks at the end of this year and next, those Kindle devices won't work. I think Amazon's handled it pretty well. I mean, I don't think they have a responsibility. It's not their fault that the network's being discontinued. They are offering some discounts to older Kindle owners, $70 off a new Kindle Paperwhite or Kindle Oasis, plus $25 in ebook credits. But you do need a promo code from the email Amazon sent you. Without that, first-generation Kindle owners only get a $5 Amazon gift card. That's kind of crappy. And you can still plug in those Kindles via USB to add books to it. So it's not like they're useless. They still work. But
but the OTA feature on those Kindles
was really cool.
So much fun. They were great.
Yeah, and if your Kindle has Wi-Fi, the early ones did not. But if you have a later Kindle that has Wi-Fi, of course, you can still use Wi-Fi. But the first couple didn't have anything. But this what do they call it? Something sync. I can't remember what they called it. But it was
Whisper Sync. No.
Whisper
that's a
Sync.
Microsoft.
Oh no, that's new.
That's a Microsoft thing. Yeah.
I can't remember. No, Whisper
I think
Sync
Microsoft is for their
with
MDAs,
audiobooks. Sync the Audible books with. I can't. Maybe it is Whisper Sync.
This isn't in the rundown, but they're handling it better than Tesla did when they said that you'll never have to upgrade your hardware for
That's right.
For autonomous driving. And then they say, oh, if it's earlier than 2019, yes, you do have to do an upgrade.
Yeah,
And
for
it's
what?
gonna cost you
$100 a month?
multiple-
What? $500 a month? It was some. Huge,
I think it was like $5,000 to get new hardware.
You buy the hardware for $5,000,
and you have to get this,
and
then
you
you
pay
get
a
the
monthly
software.
fee. Yeah. Crazy.
I want to see what loyalty retention is like. We've noticed that you haven't paid your subscription this year, so we're running you into a tree.
No.
Yeah.
Knock that off.
Make the insurance pay. That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, I got some Italian for you. We put this in just for you, Carolina. Oh, shoot. They disabled it. Oh, man.
No.
So
Was
it's
that the fastest man?
No, it's the story of the Italian Olympics announcer who gave out his password
Oh, I saw that. Yes,
during
I
a
saw
broadcast, and I have been playing it all week. And then I thought, wow, I got an actual Italian speaker on here, so you could tell us what "la porca miseria" means. But unfortunately, this media has been disabled in response to a report by the copyright owner. I guess the embarrassment.
I was actually quite impressed that it didn't. That "porca miseria" was the only thing he said.
Yeah,
because that's pretty tame.
I know worse words. I used to play chess with an Italian master, and he taught me some nasty words. Which, by the way, I used. We were in Portofino last year, and I used it, and man, did I get some looks. People, I got the idea that you should not say this out loud.
Yeah, I think you. Yeah,
but porca miseria is okay. That's just like, what the hell?
Not,
what the hell?
Yeah, it's what the hell. Yeah.
What the hell?
It's very tame.
So John is telling me that we got a takedown from the Olympic Committee for playing that video.
Oh gosh, yes.
Anything
Anything
Olympics
even
was in
remotely
the title.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Wow.
They are so aggressive.
It's like Super Bowl. You can't say it. Can't say Super Bowl. Can't say. Oh,
Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Olympics, 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 Olympics. You can say it. You can't put it in the title, apparently. So we're gonna rename that bit.
I have not watched any of the Olympics. I refuse. The draconian measures that the IOC takes, both on the media side and on the financial side,
they're kind of evil, aren't they?
I can't. They're probably
we've
the
not
most
watched
corrupt
either.
organization on the face of the planet, even more than FIFA. And FIFA is terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, and what's the deal with the Russian Olympic Committee? They're still Russians. I know they're. Oh, it's crazy. Anyway, let's take a little break, and we'll wrap this up with our great panelists. Carolina, did they warn you this is a 5-hour show? I hope they did.
They did.
Okay, good. No, we're going to wrap this up. You've been very patient. Carolina Milanese, it's great to have you. It's great to have Father Robert Balaser, and of course, Wesley Faulkner.
I packed a lunch.
Smart man.
I'm wearing a catheter.
Our show today, I don't want to know. Our show today I am wearing my flamingo shirt. And look at my baseball braces. So I'm talking to a guy who's an expert in antique headwear and hats during the radio show today. And he told me something that was kind of a revelation. He said, you know how like Fred Mertz, when he'd come over, his pants would be up to his breast line? He said, that's how people wore pants with suspenders until the pant makers realized they were wasting a lot of material and started just making them around the hips. So now I want to wear my pants up here. That's why we think old people do that. It's not that they're old, it's that they have old pants. Although there is a direct correlation between people who own old pants and their age, I think. But anyway, I don't know why I mentioned that, except that I was showing you my pants. Our show today brought to you by ExpressVPN. Big fan. I think anybody who watches our shows understands the value and the use for a VPN. But then the question is, which VPN? And I will tell you, absolutely critical. You want a VPN that respects your privacy. In other words, does not log anything you're doing on the VPN. You want a VPN that invests in infrastructure so it's fast, so you don't feel like you're paying a penalty for your privacy and security. You want a VPN like ExpressVPN. If you have ever read the fine print, when you're in a browser and you launch incognito mode or private browsing mode, nobody reads the message that comes up, but the message says, even though you're in incognito mode, your activity might still be visible to your employer, your school, your internet service provider. In fact, the only person it's incognito from is somebody else using the same computer. If you really want to stop people from seeing what you're doing online, you need ExpressVPN. Whether you're using Wi-Fi at a coffee shop, a hotel, at your parents' house, even at home, every site you visit can be logged by whoever runs that network, even when you're in incognito mode. And when you're at home, believe me, Comcast, AT&T, whoever your home internet provider is, they can see and record your browsing data. In fact, it's legal in the U.S. for them to sell that data to advertisers, which is why Father Robert sees Bollywood videos. Now, here's the deal. With ExpressVPN, all your data is encrypted, rerouted through their servers, and the IP address that's visible to Google, that your ISP, to anybody who can see what you're doing, is the ExpressVPN IP address. It's the same IP address shared by hundreds of other ExpressVPN users. It's virtually anonymous. You want your private activity to stay private, you need ExpressVPN. It also secures your traffic so nobody can snoop on what you're doing, and it has that wonderful feature that allows you to go, they're all over the world, so you can go to almost any country and watch Netflix in that country. 160 locations in 94 nations all over the world. And ExpressVPN absolutely puts the money in to make sure the infrastructure is fast. Yes, you can watch HD video, no buffering with ExpressVPN, and never any caps on your bandwidth. Sometimes I'll turn it on and forget, leave it on for weeks, and finally go, oh, but why not leave it on if it's that fast? There is no logging. They can't log. When you start up your VPN server on their servers, it launches into RAM, runs in RAM, sandbox, so it can't write to the hard drive, and then when you're done, it goes away, and there is literally zero trace of your visit. Stop letting strangers invade your online privacy. Protect yourself with a VPN I use and recommend, expressvpn.com/twit. If you go to that address, by the way, not only do they know you saw it here, which is important to us, but you'll get 3 extra months free with a 1-year package. expressvpn.com/twit. Spell it out, EXPRESS. Another reason to like them. They spell express like an actual word. EXPRESS. VPN.com/twit if you want to learn more. Protect your online privacy. Protect yourself online with ExpressVPN. Hey, before we go on, we had a great week on Twit, and we've made a little mini movie for you, so you don't miss a thing. Watch. We're ready for one of the weirdest beers you have ever tasted.
So this one I had was called Chunk Mango and Marshmallow. So I kept drinking it and saying, do I like this or do I not like this? And drinking it. In the end, the 16-ounce can was gone, and
you were chunked.
I was chunked.
I was chunked. Previously on Twit.
Oh, I like that shot of you.
Tech News Weekly.
That's
Jason
nice.
Howell and I start out the conversation today by talking to Sarah LaBeouf of GameDaily.biz about the Activision Blizzard lawsuit. Sarah was also at the walkout and told us a little bit about that event.
Floss Weekly.
QR codes. You just see QR codes everywhere. But most commonly lately is in restaurants. They publish the menu in a little QR code, even in the fancy restaurants. Well, then it turns out you could be tracked. And it's being used to track you.
All about Android.
We love comparing Android to iOS and to iPhones. And there's always Jason, we've been doing this for 10 years, right? It's always been the push-pull between Apple and Android. Oh, yeah. Well, the folks at Electronics Hubs have now declared that Android is the worldwide leader over iOS. And you might
stop playing then.
It's over. Yeah, we'll just close it up.
Yep. Twit. Put down the keg and tap the twit.
If you say so. On we go with the show. Let's see what else we got here. Jason, is Mike Masnick going to be on Twig on Wednesday? I think he is. So I'll give him a pat on the back then, but I just want to give a shout out. Mike Masnick is the editor of Tech Dirt, which is a really good tech blog, which everybody should use. And I have to say, I really respect what he has done. He, like most tech blogs, was using Google ad networks. But because Google is, difficult to deal with, periodically he would get a notice from Google saying, okay, that page is not going to load. That page is not going to load because you have dangerous stories about Google or whatever. It was annoying. They worked with third parties promising higher quality ads, promising no Google Analytics. And he says the same automated emails every damn day from Google threatening to cut us off for our dangerous and derogatory content. Now, I respect Mike. I think his stuff is very good, editorially sound, and I really want to preserve his editorial independence. He said, we just ignored these threats, but at this point, we're so damn sick of it that if Google cut us off, so be it. So they announced this week that Tech Dirt is now entirely without any Google ads or tracking code, which means as a result, they're pretty much without ads. So I just want to give a plug to one of the best tech blogs out there, a blog that really fights for Section 230, fights for privacy, fights for an internet that is done right, things like net neutrality. If you believe in Tech Dirt, support them. They have a Friends of Tech Dirt option. And I do hope that Mike is able to find advertisers who don't think that, you need this. He's decided not to go behind a paywall, and I admire that. And we'll talk to Mike on Wednesday on This Week in Google. But good on him. I just wanted to give him a little props for what he's doing. We are also an ad-supported network, and so we've also kind of been dealing with this question. We don't use Google ads, so we don't have to worry about Google stop saying bad things about Google. But we know a lot of you don't like ads, or more importantly, don't want the tracking that goes along with ads, or just don't want to see any more Bollywood videos. So we got a plan for you. We call it Club Twit. It's a way to support what we do. $7 a month. You get ad-free versions of all of our shows, audio or video. You get to choose. You also get a special Twit Plus feed, which has a lot of fun stuff in it, including stuff that happens before and after shows, our Untitled Linux show and things like that. And you get access to this wonderful Discord, which we like very much. We are a big fan of Discord. I know you use it, Father Robert. In fact, I paid close attention to what you do with your Discord. So we're doing some of the same
Discord.
things. Isn't it great?
Yeah.
So you get access to this Discord that is only Club Twit members. And that means the discussions are great. There's conversations not only about all the shows, but all sorts of topics geeks love. If you're interested, twit.tv/clubtwit. It's amazing how putting up a $7 toll really improves the quality of conversation. I don't know what it is, but it's great. We really love it, and we hope you will like it. And thank you for the support. twit.tv/clubtwit. Have we covered every topic, you guys? Did you look at the rundown? Is there something you really wanted to talk about? Lucasfilm hiring a YouTuber who's better at deep fakes than they are. I love that story. How about this one? I mentioned this on the radio show. Father Robert, you're kind of into security. Phantom warships, this is from Wired, are courting chaos in conflict zones. By the way, points for alliteration on that. The problem is that the AIS that's used by all commercial shipping is easy to spoof, I guess. So is GPS. According to analysis conducted by Sky Truth and Global Fishing Watch, over 100 warships from at least 14 European countries, Russia and the U.S., have had their location faked, sometimes for days at a time, in the past year. Some of these tracks show warships approaching foreign naval bases, intruding into disputed waters. They all share characteristics that suggest a common perpetrator. somebody who kind of wants to stir up international tensions, it sounds like.
It's super simple. It's super easy. And actually, this was a rejected know-how segment from back
Who
in
rejected
the day.
it? Did I reject it?
No, I rejected it.
Oh, okay.
Because once...
You didn't want to tell people how to do it.
I didn't want to tell people how to do it. It was a $400 software-defined radio. I was able to go out to near Golden Gate Bridge, and you could get all of the information from all the ships that were streaming into the bay, and you could start spoofing it. It was...
that's terrible.
It was so easy to do. I was like, no. This is not something I want to teach people how to play with, because that information can be incredibly damaging. I mean, you're messing with shipping of these multi-thousands of ton vessels. It was a prank, essentially.
The UK Ministry of Defense said, we are aware of manipulation of AIS tracking data, placing carrier strike group vessels in areas where they were not. Wow. Imagine if you're a hostile nation and suddenly you see a UK carrier strike group steaming your way. You might take that fairly seriously. They've found no evidence directly linking the fake tracks to any country, organization, or individual. But Todd Humphreys, who's director of the Radio Navigation Lab at the University of Texas, Austin, says they're consistent with Russian tactics. This fits a pattern of disinformation that our Russian friends are wont to engage in. Anyway,
and the AIS system is not. It's not secure. It wasn't designed to be secure.
Yeah,
right. Because no one ever thought who would
mess with that. Yeah,
right. It'd be like messing with traffic signals. Who would mess with traffic signals? But we live in a world where if I can mess with it, because it's just a satellite, I just have to point the antenna in the right direction, I'll try it out of curiosity. Although the fact that it keeps happening means it's now no longer curiosity. Someone's actually testing to see how far they can push this.
Sigh. And yet another, these are public service announcements, things you should be aware of. There is a Python repository called PyPy, P-Y-P-I, where people download libraries and so forth. Apparently, open source packages downloaded an estimated 30,000 times from the PyPy open source repository contain malicious code that surreptitiously stole credit card data and login credentials and injected malicious code on infected machines. You know, for years, we've had these repositories. They're wide open. It's easy to put spoofed information on there. And we've just kind of, without thinking about it, trusted it. Steve's talked about this on Security Now a couple of times. Here's an example. 30,000 downloads from PyPy of malicious software. Of course, people downloading them thought they were downloading libraries and things and safe packages.
I've used it.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff is
and
also
actually,
scripted.
Right. Well, I mean, one of the issues is you've got developing teams who they do it for fun, and then they abandon a project.
Right.
Well, if someone else picks it up, they're trading on the name. This used to be something that a repository that they wanted. They have no idea that malicious code has been added. The same thing happens to plugins on certain browsers. You've got a plugin, maybe that company goes out of business. Someone else buys the intellectual property, and suddenly they have access to a plugin that your browser will auto-update with the latest malware.
And be careful where you get your software. Bad guys have created, this is not good, have created a fake Brave website.
Oh, no.
Oh, we like Brave. It's a great...
I like Brave.
It's a great browser. It's a privacy-focused browser. We recommend it. I think they bought some ads at one point. But using what they call tiny code, it's possible to make a site that looks like Brave but isn't Brave, and people are downloading what they think is a browser, but is in fact malware. So let me see if I can find this. Google, the malware authors were buying Google ads. Let me see if I can show you these Google ads. So you'll search for Brave browser, and you'd get an ad that looks like it's the Brave browser. Notice, though, that this ad's from McKelveyTees.com, not Brave. But if you click on the link, you would go to a site that looked just like Brave, but there was a slight difference. Instead of brave.com, it was brav.grave.com. They would
what?
Yeah, they would use Punycode, it's called, to create a domain using Unicode that looks like Brave if you don't examine it closely, but it's actually Brave spelled a little bit differently with a E with a diacritical mark on it. And since the site looks just like Brave, and it looks like you're at brave.com unless you look really, really closely. Let me see if can you look at that and tell? Is that obviously
right. It looks good.
Yeah, it looks like Brave, right? But there's a little accent on the E that you might easily miss. And of course, it's malware. Google, when notified by the privacy researchers, pulled down the ads, but those ads were there. It's all automated, right? Those ads were there for a while. And the company that hosted brevet.com has taken it down. But that doesn't mean this won't happen again. So be very, very careful. You know, when you look at sites, Punycode has been used in a number of other attacks. Screencast.com, FlightSimulator.com. Not Flight Simulator, but Fleet Simulator. Exodus.com, TradingView.com, a little umlaut over the I, TorBrowser.com, Telegram.com. So be careful. Look. If you're downloading software, I think it would be worthwhile to click the little padlock and look at the certificate and make sure the name of the certificate matches the site you think you're on exactly. Or maybe just type those site names in. Don't click links. That's another problem. Just clicking those links.
Or skip ads.
Or skip all ads, unless they're for fine Bollywood movies. In which case,
I will say I've developed a taste for Bollywood movies.
I think they're very entertaining.
Their cinema has greatly improved in the last 10 years.
Oh, and the dancing and the singing and the love stories. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we can wrap this baby up, put it to bed. I was going to make it a 5-hour show, but in deference to Carolina, I think we'll just make it a little bit shorter. Carolina, tell us about the heart of tech.
The Heart Attack is my pet project that has become a bit more than that.
I have to say, when you say it with your accent, sometimes it sounds a little bit like the heart attack. So
I know somebody help. Yes, I had that before. Probably because the topic is related. I don't know. You can have a heart attack if.
Yeah, and there is a heart on the website, so it's the heart of. Tech, not the heart attack.
Yeah, the idea was really to talk more about the emotional and passion and the human in the tech and also the social implication that tech has. And then my day job is actually Creative Strategies, where I am president and principal analyst, where I do the more traditional coverage of technology, and I look at things like future work and everything that comes from consumer and impacts in enterprise and so much more. And you can find me on Twitter as well at Caro_Milanesi.
Is there a particular area you focus your reports on?
Apart from CSR, it is really the impact of consumer technology in an enterprise environment, future work collaboration, and then all the tech companies and assistant and AI, ethics and AI, everything.
Nice. Well, we'll have you back because we need an expert in all of those areas. Do you know anything about time crystals? Because
I do not. That's why you have.
Nobody knows that. Maybe Father Robert. I don't know.
We've got some in the Vatican.
Of course. What am I saying? You've had them for years, centuries. That's Father Robert Balasaire. We call him the Digital Jesuit, digitaljesuit.com. He's Padre SJ on the Twitter. He also runs a Vatican Minecraft server, a Factorio server, a Valheim server. Anything else you want to plug?
Oh, just thanks to Black Sails and McLovin. I mean, he's really the powerhouse behind all of that, and he's helping us recover from a disaster we had. We actually had a flood take out a data center. So that was interesting.
Was it in Italy? Where was the flood?
No, it was in an undisclosed location. But it has really messed up our operations. But I think my biggest project right now is I am walking around the Vatican and I'm blasting the Italian version of Baby Shark, which is known as Bimbo Squalo.
Bimbo Squalo. Da, 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 Bimbo Squalo. Da, 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 da.
Exactly. No, that does exist. Go to
Mama
YouTube
Squalo,
and type in Bimbo Squalo.
Mama Squalo. Okay, I like it. Papa Squalo. That's the beauty of Baby Shark. It's the international language of shark.
Exactly.
Yes.
Of annoyance.
Robert, thanks for staying up late with us. It's like 2 a.m. now. I appreciate it. Thank you
My
very
pleasure.
much. Wesley Faulkner, we love you. It's always great to see you. Congratulations on the new gig, head of community at Single Store. Plug something.
Thank you. I'll plug several things. First, yes, I'm new to Single Store. I'm head of community there. If anyone's listening to this and you've used Single Store, also known in the past as MemSQL, reach out to me. I would love to hear your experience and how I can do better and how we can do better. And I want to make sure that the lines of communications are open. My DMs are open on Twitter. So reach out on Twitter and just say, hey, I've used Single Store and tell me what you think of it. So that's number one. Number two, just this past week, I spoke at a conference. That is the name of the conference.
You got a good mug for it. That's a nice mug.
Yeah. It was my first ever keynote, and it was live streamed. So if you do a search on YouTube for that conference and my name, I would love feedback on what you thought of it, because it was my first time doing a keynote. It's also a pinned tweet on Twitter. I keep sending people to Twitter. It's Wesley83 on Twitter. So if you want to see it, and I would love to know what you thought of it, because I was nervous giving it, and I would love to know if I should give it again. I'm on the fence.
That's neat.
And
what is that, though? What is that?
So the origin of the conference was to focus on developers and not the conference. It's about the people and not the event. And so to be nondescript, they called it that conference. So that it's about people and it's about the family of people brought together by the conference.
I want to go. That's awesome.
And they're rolling a new one in Texas in January, it's their first time going outside the state of Wisconsin. And so if you are in the Texas, Austin, Round Rock area, I would say sign up and go in January.
Do you actually have to camp? Do you actually camp outside?
No. It's in a Kalahari resort. It's a water park. So it's a family friendly event. So it's not just people, it's like your whole family goes.
Bring the kids.
And that was one of the things that was really amazing for me, that I gave this speech on a stage and my family was there to witness it. So that was pretty awesome.
Did they enjoy that, seeing Daddy give a speech? That's neat.
Yeah, they actually know what I do sort of now. And so it was a very, very personal speech too. So I kind of go through my whole life history in it.
Oh man, we can watch that online?
Lisa gave me a good response to it. So she
sounds awesome.
And so that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, Lisa loves you, Wes. We both do, but Lisa, we talk about you at night. We're lying in bed talking about Wesley Faulkner. That gives you some idea.
Okay.
I don't know how to feel about that.
The other night, she was saying that. I think she had just watched your speech, actually. Yeah.
Maybe.
THAT.US.
Yep. That us.
That us. Nice. Anything else? What else? You said many.
Last is my own podcast.
Ooh.
Community Pulse, communitypulse.io. I co-host with several great people that are way smarter than me. And we talk about developer relations, and we also talk about community. But our next one is yet to be published, but the next one's going to be about developer relations survey. So if you want to know how much people get paid, what they think about their employers, what countries that people participate in developer relations, it's a really growing space. And we're going to go dive deep into the audience survey of people who are consider themselves in the developer relation profession. So that's going to be really informative. So if you've never listened to the podcast, or if you're just curious about developer relations, that's a really good one to start with, is the one that's going to be posted.
Nice. Communitypulse.io. Folks, we do This Week in Tech every Sunday afternoon. Well, it's afternoon my time, middle of the night for Father Robert, but it's 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2100 UTC. I tell you those times not because you have to be here, but if you want to watch us do the show, we do stream out kind of the making of stream, the behind-the-scenes stream, at twit.tv/live. There's audio and video there. Watching live, chat live. There's 2 places to chat live. Of course, our IRC, which we've had since the early 90s. I'm not kidding you. irc.twit.tv. There's also, of course, the Discord, if you're a member of Club Twit. Those are all people watching live, chatting live, having fun live. On-demand versions of the show available online at our website. This Week in Tech is at twit.tv. When you get there, you'll also see a link to the YouTube channel for all the shows, so you can watch them there. Also to some big-name podcast clients, but it works with any podcasting client. All you have to do is add the RSS feed or search for This Week in Tech, and you can add it. If that client happens to allow reviews, please leave us a 5-star review. Let the world know you listen, and help spread the word, because we want everybody to listen to This Week in Tech. If you are watching or listening after the fact, we do have kind of asynchronous communities, our forums at twit.community and our Mastodon instance at twit.social, both places you can interact with us, the hosts. Oh, let's show that too. Don't forget, Paul Thurrott and I are going on a cruise. We're going to Alaska next year. End of July 2022. It's going to be a lot of fun. We would love you to come along. You can find out more at cruise.twit.tv. And Paul's wife, Stephanie, says she's going to do a mixology course. She is an amazing mixologist. Yeah. Paul will be...
Go to Alaska while it's still frozen.
Yes. While the glaciers are still there, we will see the glaciers. We will. It's a really beautiful cruise. I've done it before. On the Holland America line, and it is so much fun. So we're really looking forward to that. But book now, because I don't know how much longer these cruises book up fast. I don't know how much longer there'll be cabins available. So cruise.twit.tv for more information. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next time on This Week in Tech. Another Twit is in the can.